And there were allegations at one time, but now an admission. Now viewers, let me begin by putting this in perspective. Mistakes can happen in newsrooms. Meeting deadlines can at times add pressure, leaving less time to due diligence. Truth be told, Times Now has made its fair share of inadvertent errors, viewers. A number of you have been quick to fact check Times Now, have rightly been critical and sought apologies from Times Now. Some of you even decided to sue Times Now. Thank goodness those cases haven't fructified, because some of those cases were based on agendas and falsehoods. But certainly, we have made mistakes. We apologize for them. Times Now has been quick to admit these mistakes. But very few viewers, very few newsrooms can claim the odious distinction of faking the news with deliberation to spin a tendentious narrative to damage personal reputations and undermine the nation's image. It takes a very different kind of animal to behave in that way. Still fewer, I'm talking about newsrooms, can claim to have then dismissed reservations expressed by fact checkers to haughtily award themselves a clean chit. Now, viewers, by its own admission, The Wire magazine is guilty of first spinning a story on fake facts and then arrogantly defending their journalism. But finally, under tremendous pressure of undeniable mounting evidence of fraud, perhaps even premeditated fraud, this morning, the digital portal The Wire has apologized for a series of stories it ran on Meta, the company that owns Facebook and Instagram. Now viewers, we are not here holding a brief for Facebook, Instagram, Meta, etc. We have long believed that some of these agencies have become troughs of absolute and unfortunately unverified fakery. But viewers, we have never stood in judgment of Facebook, Instagram, Meta by doing stories against them, proclaiming that we had facts to suggest that they were suborned by spokespersons of parties or by governments. The Wire had alleged that an Instagram post was taken down within minutes after being flagged by Amit Malviya, the head of the BJP's IT cell, because Meta and Amit Malviya had some arrangement with each other where he had this supreme power. The claim was refuted hotly by Meta, and when challenged for proof, The Wire put out a series of exposés that set in motion a cycle that completely demolished a story that The Wire had defended as the absolute truth. So now let's give you a brief of what was claimed and what has now emerged. Claim number one, that Wire has leaked internal report of Instagram that shows how BJP IT head Amit Malviya got a satirical Insta post taken down. But what is the reality, viewers? The reality is that internal report was fake. Wire has been able to provide no proof of this so-called internal report of Instagram being authentic. Claim number two. Wire said they have a subsequent email from Meta's Andy Stone where he is livid at the leak report and said, how the hell did it leak? The reality is that this email address does not exist. Things now get murkier, viewers. Wire then claimed that they had a video where they authenticated Andy Stone's email where he is allegedly fuming at the leak. Guess what? This video was proven to be fake as well. Meta said that this video was deliberately set up with Instagram's brand name and insignia in order to deceive people. This is a verbatim quote from Meta's statement. Astoundingly, this video was created on October 13th after Wire's initial reports, which Meta and BJP say simply means that Wire first put out these two fake emails, then created a fake video to defend the contents of these fake emails. Now we come to point number 4. Wire then went on to claim that independent experts had, quote, authenticated, unquote, their fake video. Guess what? At least 2 experts went on record to say they did no such thing. Viewers, no such thing, they said. That's right, viewers. This is extremely damaging. The fact that this expert says, and I want to go across to Siddharth Talia, who has this statement from the experts. Now, Siddharth, what is the expert saying? This expert was, of course, used as an alibi by Wire to so-called corroborate some of its evidence against Meta, isn't it?
Absolutely, Rahul. So this expert, Ujjwal Kumar, was somebody cited by the Wire as somebody who validated the authentication process to trace the origin of the original email sent by Andy Stone of Meta. Now, Wire was seeking to authenticate those emails, and they undertook a procedure in which they could actually authenticate it, and they claimed that this entire process was validated by this independent expert called Ujjwal Kumar, who happens to be a lead architect at Microsoft. And Ujjwal Kumar actually issued a statement completely rebutting the claims made by the Wire, saying that he was not even consulted for this entire process. And let me just read out the operative portion where he says, despite my denial, the Wire modified its report. So this is his allegation. Despite my denial, the Wire modified its report to falsely claim that while I had issued an email confirming validation of the Wire's processes, I did not wish for the article to continue to carry my name. So he's basically alleging that the Wire came out with a narrative where Mr. Ujjwal Kumar tells the Wire to not carry his name as having been part of the validation process. But here's what he says towards the end, which is the smoking gun and extremely damning, Rahul. He says at no point of time prior to the publication of Wire's report dated 15th of October 2022 did any reporter from the Wire reach out to me for any statement on or verification of the Wire's processes. The email screenshot reproduced in the report was not sent from my email account. He is one of 2 independent experts that the Wire claims to have consulted who've completely denied the claims made in its report.
Now, viewers, just think about it. If you bring out a story that seems to suggest that the BJP's IT cell, Siddharth, if I'm not mistaken, has a veto over what goes out on the Meta's platforms and can remove them if they are not to their taste, it suggests, viewers, that democracy in this country is being throttled. Siddharth, am I wrong to make this suggestion? Is being throttled by the party in power, which is in a brute majority?
Well, Rahul, that's of course the allegation that keeps coming, but the very fact that here there are layers upon layers of alleged fabrication that has taken place in order to cover up the original fabrication, which was the first initial set of stories that the Wire put out, it raises serious questions about matters such as editorial integrity, and these are allegations that are often heard by the ecosystem that this publication might very well be a part of against what it calls some of its ideological adversaries, but the shoe's on the other foot now, Rahul, and introspection is clearly due.
Well, it is damaging, the fact that this expert says that despite his denials, the Wire modified its report to falsely claim that while I had issued an email confirming validation of the Wire's process, I didn't wish for the article to carry my name, unquote, which means this, that the expert said, I have not validated the report, but Wire claimed that the expert has validated the report and simply doesn't want his name to appear. This, the BJP now says, is an outright fakery intended to damage the BJP's reputation, Amit Malviya's reputation. So here's the thing. Everyone makes mistakes, viewers. I started by saying, in the interests of absolute fair disclosure, that even Times Now has made mistakes. And it's great to own up. But is this a mistake or an outright fabrication of rare malevolence? That's the fundamental question. What was the intent behind this now retracted news report? Was it to create a narrative? These are fundamental questions. Can the organization simply say that they were deceived by their reporter when, viewers, on numerous occasions, Mr. Vardarajan, the editor, and one of the founders of The Wire, along with Mr. M.K. Venu, had come out and vociferously defended their journalism, saying that it is unimpeachable in this case. And that too, especially when experts wrote back saying we have not participated in the verification process. Who fakes the response of experts? Unless, viewers, you're up to something. It appears that this is not about one journalist but an alleged collusion. Is that a fair question to ask? We'll put that out, viewers, in just a few minutes. But Siddharth Vardarajan spoke to Siddharth Talia. Siddharth, now you asked him specific questions even in the past, but this conversation is slightly different because this takes place after The Wire put out its article, retracting its article, right?
Absolutely. So The Wire retracted its articles a few days ago, and today it issued a formal apology claiming that an internal review is now being conducted over actually how the articles came to be published. And I asked him some very pointed questions. The first question, of course, was a response to the defamation case that's now been going to be filed.
Let's listen.
Amit Malviya, let's tune into that conversation.
Yeah, let's listen to that conversation. Viewers, we're going to be breaking what Mr. Siddharth Vardarajan says in his latest response to Times Now. The story is being updated live, viewers, for balance, so that all sides are represented on this debate. Listen to Siddharth Vardarajan talking to Siddharth Talia.
Mr. Vardarajan, hi, good evening. My name is Siddharth Talia. I'm calling you from Times Now, sir.
Yeah.
So I just wanted your reaction now that Mr. Amit Malviya has decided to take The Wire to court and file a defamation case. I just wanted your response to that development.
Well, I've just seen his tweet, and so we will handle it when it comes. I mean, in the sense that we're just waiting to see what happens. In the sense that I just saw his tweet. Frankly, I have no reaction as of now.
Okay, and do you believe that, given the fact that you've retracted the concerned pieces about Meta that had been written and also now initiated a review, you've also apologized, how do you think this will pan out now that a defamation suit has been filed? What are you contemplating, sir?
As I said, I've just seen the news, so I'm not contemplating anything.
Okay.
I need time to look at this and discuss with my colleagues.
And a final question to you about the statement.
You can check with me later.
Absolutely. One final question, sir, about the statement that you've put out. You claim that you were deceived by the person investigating this entire matter on your behalf, on The Wire's behalf, as far as the Meta reportage is concerned. Are you convinced that you were deceived? Because there are enough people who are also saying that this could be a wholesale kind of a fabrication on a large scale, that it might not just be a bona fide error. What's your response to that specific claim?
No, that's crazy. This allegation is it's laughable. So,
okay.
So what we've said in our statement is what the facts are.
Okay.
And that is the long and short of the matter.
Now, Siddharth, this is interesting because it appears that Mr. Vardarajan, in his earlier statement, implied that he had been deceived by a reporter, isn't it?
Yeah, so he basically said that in the apology that's now been put out by The Wire on its website, that one of its investigators, the person working on the story with respect to Meta, was actually somebody who ended up deceiving the rest of the Wire staff, who also did not do their due diligence in the story. But this is a complete contrast to a stand of defiance that was taken by Mr. Vardarajan on the 14th of October when he got in touch with him, and he solidly backed his reporters and the stories that had been put out by the wire at that point in time.
Well, you, of course, you also spoke to Mr. Vardarajan on October 14th, and that time he solidly backed the story. Now, viewers, there is one unwritten principle in life, that as a captain of a team, you've got to take it on the chin. You've got to accept responsibility. You can't suddenly say, oh, one particular person misled us, now we are going to take action against that person. You can do all of that, yes, but you can't distance yourself from what you put out. You might remember the time when I was trolled for the McAdams incident. I didn't go about telling the world, viewers, that someone had keyed in the wrong name. I faced up to it. I called Mr. McAdams back. We had a civilized conversation. We had a little joke about it. And quite frankly, viewers, that's the way. That's the way. You got to own up. And this is a test of character, let me tell you. It's a test of character, and one hopes, of course, that Mr. Vardarajan comes out and issues a statement, because his portal is very quick to stand in judgment of other people's output, other news organizations' journalism. So it would be in his interest to put out a statement going into the reasons why he feels that this was not an act of collective failure. Let me open this up, because Siddharth, just very quickly, you had spoken to Siddharth Vardarajan earlier, your namesake, and he had at that time sort of had a very different attitude, right?
Right. Let me in fact take you through, Rahul, through some of the correspondences that we've had with the wire on the 14th of October, to be specific, a day that we also wrote to Meta seeking their clarification, and they basically reissued the statement they'd given. But with respect to the wire, we specifically asked them if wire was actually in a position to corroborate the documentation and emails in its reportage that Meta claims are fabricated or fake. If so, what is the corroborative material? So this is following the allegations made by Meta that the claims made by the wire are fabricated. Siddharth Vardarajan stood solidly behind the story, saying, yes, we are publishing this later today, which means they published a subsequent piece that was in fact put out on the website on the 15th of October. Then we also said, does Wire have documentary proof to prove that the 705 posts that were reported by Amit Malviya to be taken down on Instagram as well as Facebook, could they actually corroborate that material? To which Mr. Vardarajan said, we've shown the document in one such case, and today we'll provide the evidence that Meta's claim that the URL shown in the document is not in use as false. Right. This document also, Rahul, turns out to be false, as exposed by Meta much later. Okay, well, this is very, very interesting, because Siddharth, this would suggest that someone other than just this reporter was going over the volume of so-called documentary evidence and attesting that it was bona fide, wouldn't it? Absolutely, and what's really startling in this particular case, Rahul, is the fact that certain trails were left behind that were actually created after Meta had issued its initial rebuttal to the story published by The Wire. So the first couple of stories came between the 10th and the 12th of October. On the 13th, Meta issues a clarification saying all these claims are fabricated that are being made by The Wire, and thereafter you have 3 or 4 pieces of so-called evidence published in The Wire that claim to authenticate their stories, Rahul, and these also turn out to be a fabrication, as exposed much later, that The Wire continued to defend until just recently. Well, there has also been another retraction, hasn't it, on another story. What is that? Tech fog or something like that? I didn't quite understand that. So Rahul, The Wire had come out with a series of stories earlier where they claimed that a certain app that was allegedly run by representatives of the BJP called Tech Fog was actually being used to malign female journalists who were critical of the government. Now, the Freedom House also actually published this as part of their findings on India, where India was in fact significantly downgraded to suggest that freedom of expression is not a fundamental right that is actually being enjoyed by a lot of people. There's actually active suppression on the part of the dispensation that's ruling India currently and the current establishment. Now, this Tech Fog story is also under scrutiny, Rahul, for its reportage and the kind of authentication that The Wire claims it's managed to establish. That also is suspect, and it remains to be seen what kind of action is now initiated against Tech Fog stories run on The Wire as well. Well, that's rather disturbing also, because viewers, remember, all of this narrative goes in to feed a whole ecosystem. I began by saying this. Thanks indeed, Siddharth, for this. But let me tell you, viewers, it feeds an entire ecosystem. That ecosystem then projects a picture of India. That picture is then
very quickly lapped up by certain international freedom and democracy watchdogs to pass judgment on India. And when is all of this coming? It's coming at a time when India has emerged relatively quicker than other leading democracies as well as industrial powerhouses from the pandemic epidemic, and is poised to do very well economically. Now, if all of these reports come out about how India has become a sort of Putin-esque Russia, or one of those Gulf countries where you're murdered, shot dead if you speak your mind, or, viewers, a Central Asian Republic which is run by a group of individuals who are throttling people because they happen to express a contrary opinion, a large number of investors will say, we don't want to go to a country where if we have a grouse or we have a problem against the government, we will just be completely quashed. So this affects the country's image. It affects investments coming into the country. And viewers, let me tell you, a short while back, I spoke to Rajiv Malhotra, who's the author of a very well received book called Snakes in the Ganga. He also joins us. Sanjay Jha is here. And what was the thesis that Rajiv Malhotra, I mean, it's amazing. Mr. Malhotra, let's get him back. I can't see him. Nizam Bhai, yeah, that's right. There's Rajiv Malhotra on your screens, viewers. He's speaking to us from America today. Good morning, Mr. Malhotra. Your thesis today, it's uncanny. Your thesis is being vindicated by some of the individuals that you have actually cited as part of the problem.
Yes. So thank you for having me, Rahul, and thank you for the clarity. You brought out one more case study, one more example of the sort of thing that this book talks about, my book talks about. In particular, in chapter 14, I talk about the nexus overseas in places like Harvard, where they have the Nieman Center, which is a media center. They bring in people like The Wire. They bring in journalists that are ultra-left and anti-India, anti-BJP, and they nurture these people in various ways. They put together the young journalists who are tutored to in a certain ideology, along with the portals like Wire, where the articles can be published, in effect, building careers of people who are anti-India. That there is a huge amount in chapter 14. We've written on that. And we've named Wire and various other portals like that. Then in chapter 20, we talk about in the setups in India. For instance, there is something called the Independent and Public Spirited Media Foundation. The Independent and Public Spirited Media Foundation is funded by the who's who of Indian, billionaires and so on. I won't name them, but they are named in the book. And this is an echo of the Nieman Center. So what the Nieman Center is doing from Harvard, certain groups in India are kind of the local India version of it, and they're echoing it, And the net result of all this is a very systematic, serious, you can say conspiracy theory. People don't like that term, but actually it is. This requires funding. This requires a lot of Indians who are working for it as intellectuals, as theorists, and it requires Westerners who are into this ideology. And as you said, we call it Breaking India 2.0. Because the idea is to break the India narrative, the India story, the India success story. They want to break it up for all kinds of reasons. So I'm more than happy. I'm extremely happy that you are doing this, and I would like to see a proper investigation in India of the sort of people that we've named in this book.
Well, let me tell you, viewers, Mr. Amit Malviya has decided to file criminal defamation as well as a civil defamation suit against the Wire. That's the latest we are hearing also. We're awaiting, of course, as they say, on-camera reaction from Mr. Malviya. But the editor of ANI is here, and Congress spokesperson Sanjay Jha is also here. Now look, viewers, it's okay. There's no crime committed if a journalist stands up and says, I'm anti-BJP. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not a crime in this country to be anti any political party. The point is, viewers, when you extend that and you start talking about the country and you build a narrative that Mr. Malhotra has exposed in his 800-page book. Now, this is not a fly-by-night operation, viewers. Mr. Malhotra has unimpeachable credentials. He's been St. Stephanian, he has been in some of the top colleges in America, but he was cancelled. And we had a long interaction. But you know, I want to bring in Sanjay Jha, I also want to bring in Smita Prakash. Now, Sanjay Jha, it's very interesting because the Congress party routinely uses words radio, Rwanda and North Korean media against those that might be critical of it. The Wire or the stories that deliberately undermine and malign India, are these stories now kosher for the party, or will the party also now stand up and say that perhaps the Wire is also deserving of this epithet, Radio Rwanda and North Korean media, for, and remember, it's Mr. Vardarajan who has apologized and retracted the story. It's not a Times Now, you know, sort of expose on their journalism. He in fact has come out and said this was, you know, a comprehensive editorial review of the internal editorial processes which resulted in the publication of these stories in order to identify and plug any and all shortcomings. So, you know, he's gone on and sort of said that, yes, well, you know, this was fake news. And it's a monumental, and this is not the first one, Tech Fog, that's also been sort of retracted. A court asked the Wire to remove 14 stories on Covaxin and Bharat Biotech after defamation suit. Pegasus reportage also resulted in the SC passing an inconclusive order. So, you know, as the BJP has been saying, as the government's representative, advisor, etc., Mr. Gupta, who advises the INB ministry, came on and said there's a series here. And the BJP is represented by Nalin Kohli. So I'm just asking you, Sanjay Jha, will you today widen the ambit of your great vocabulary to call this a farrago of whatever, or, you know, Rwanda radio and North Korean media? Would this fit in with that, or it's okay to cook up stories and malign the country, etc., in the Congress's book?
Sure. Rahul, if you don't interrupt me, I'll answer in bullet points and take half the time that Mr. Malhotra took. Since Mr. Malhotra, as a true nationalist, is very deeply disturbed at the conspiracy against India, may I request Mr. Malhotra to please read what the Supreme Court of India has told Mr. Modi's government on the practicing of hate speech in this country. It has said that it is tragic, and it has gone on to say that it is a violation of the human rights of the citizens of our country. It has gone on to say that is this the 20th century India that we all dream of? Please, sir, look at the India brand and look at what the Supreme Court has said. It's not the Congress party, it's the Supreme Court. If you have any respect for the United Nations, kindly also read what the United Nations Secretary General had to say about the violation of fundamental rights in India. Now let me quickly answer your question. I don't hold any counsel for the Wire, but can it be denied by the BJP? And I would request all the wonderful watchers of your very popular program to just Google fake news and BJP, and the Google will give you a whole laundry list, a grocery list of the kind of blatant lies, fake news, alternative facts, post-truth that the BJP has unleashed on India since 2014. I mean, we all know it. Even the Prime Minister has indulged in fake news. Even that is a document. Point number 3. Can the BJP deny that it doesn't have a romantic, passionate affair with Facebook or Meta? Can we forget Rahul Ankhi Das, the public policy head, who was exposed, by the way, by a conservative, right-leaning Wall Street Journal? And she actually resigned thereafter, which further corroborated the allegations made about the very close equation between the BJP, which was allowed to spread fake news and hate speeches by Meta. Point number 4, very critical here, that end of day, we are living in times where there is a brazen manipulation of all kinds of media vehicles. I believe that the Wire has done the right thing by apologizing the way they have. I think that's the kind of journalistic standards one must uphold. I also appreciate you saying that Times Now has made errors. Why not? I'm aware, for example, that recently you took down that item where I think, you know, the Congress had accused the Times Now of putting out an item about a Jammu and Kashmir Congress member who wasn't a member of the party. And that's what good journalism is about. Everyone makes mistakes.
There is
but
a difference.
I cannot be denied
Mr.
that
Jha,
the BJP is hand in glove with social media agencies.
There is a small difference. You haven't answered my question, because the BJP viewers, no one is holding a brief for the BJP. The spokesperson is here. He can answer. Are we saying that other political parties don't tweet fake news? There have been certain cases against Mr. Rahul Gandhi, have we forgotten? Where he's being dragged by his neck to make an apology by the Supreme Court on the Rafale affair. So, viewers, let's not go down that rabbit hole. I asked a very simple question. The Congress is very good at labeling people it thinks are ideological adversaries by calling them horrible names. Doesn't befit a Congress party, but of course I don't expect that magnanimity from the Congress that actually silenced the entire media. I mean, disbanded the Constitution in 75, locked up 6,000 people at one go a few years ago under sedition. But 1 minute, I just want to say, Radio Ravanda viewers, Radio Ravanda, Korean, North Korean media are words that are used by mainstream senior leaders of the Congress party to quote unquote shame those that criticize its decisions or its leadership. I only asked, will the Congress party now use the words Ravanda Radio and North Korean media against the Wire, stories that are deliberately alleged to have, admitted to have undermined, maligned India? Are they kosher for the party? Simple. It's a very simple question. Didn't get an answer. What I got was a large number of equivalences. I don't grudge you that, Mr. Jha.
Rahul, why should the Congress party defend
let me just
the
say
Wire?
very quickly. Secondly,
it's an independent online portal.
Please, sir. You have gone to some great extent to. No, 1 second. You have gone to some great extent to. No, 1 second. 1 second. Sir, I will just pull out certain commentary from your handles, the Congress handles, from your official spokesperson defending certain journalists. You now know that this is indefensible because the Wire has come out and apologized. So you are not going to defend them. You are being opportunistic. That's okay. But I just want to make one small interjection here, viewers. An equivalence was sought to be drawn between Times Now and Wire. Now, viewers, as I said, inadvertent mistakes happen. The example that Sanjay Jha talked about was a clerical error that literally took place on our desk. I investigated it. I put out a statement apologizing for it. I didn't say
Rahul,
so and so. One second, Mr. Jha, now let me finish. Why are you speaking over me, sir? Did I speak over you?
Everyone makes a mistake.
Sir, I didn't speak over you. I'll tell you.
What's the big deal?
The difference here, according to the BJP, according to Meta, is that Wire. Allow me, sir. Allow me. Okay, let me quote Siddharth Vardarajan. I don't know why you're shouting.
It has been proven in the
Let me quote Siddharth Vardarajan. You're right. Why should I quote the BJP when I have the primary source here? So this is what Siddharth Vardarajan said. Wire acknowledges that the internal editorial processes which preceded publication of its meta stories did not meet the standards that we set for ourselves and our readers expect from us. To our readers, an apology and a promise. I'll get to the promise bit another time. No one has seen the future. But this is an apology. Now, viewers, there was no pressure of deadlines. In instant newsrooms, where information is coming, you can drop an ex-Congress member and write Congress member. It can just happen. It's a clerical input error. It can happen.
No,
it did happen. Let me finish. Sanjay Jha, please.
Rahul, I'm sorry.
Oh God, why is he shouting? Why do you shout so much, sir?
It painted
Why are you speaking?
No, 1 minute.
Why are you speaking over me?
As being an anti-Hindu party.
Why are you speaking over me?
It was a political narrative being set up.
Sir, am I hiding behind? Am I hiding behind?
The Congress party.
Am I hiding behind? Am I hiding
behind? Why are you being
self-righteous? Oh gosh.
Why are you
being
sanctimonious?
I'm just merely drawing a distinction, sir. Sir, we put out an apology. You've quoted the apology. This is not about Times Now.
So you apologized, right? You didn't say clerical error.
Sir,
you apologized because it made the party look bad.
I am trying to draw a distinction between the example. Excuse me, please let me speak. Please, sir, I have not interrupted you at all. At least let me put out my side, since you drew attention to it. All I'm saying is, viewers, it's an error, inadvertent error, vis-a-vis what appears to be a well thought out exercise in gaming the profession by cooking up material. There are two very different things. Anyhow, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, as I said. Let the BJP quickly respond, and I want to bring in senior journalist, editor of the ANI, Smita Prakash, right after that. Mr. Nalin Kohli, we've heard Mr. Sanjay Jha talking about how you have shamed this country, how the Supreme Court has pulled you up for it, etc., etc. Would you like to respond to him?
And include the UN Secretary General.
Thank you, Rahul. So I have multiple points to say. The first is, for the record, Mr. Jha did speak much longer than Mr. Malhotra. Number two, on the Supreme Court, hate speech, it's always convenient for the Congress party to quote one thing but forget the other. On Rafale, there's been a castigation, they are still flogging a dead horse. So they have no respect for the Supreme Court when it suits them, and then they exalt the Supreme Court. So they've even dragged it for politics to the lowest levels possible. But that's okay. That's their institutional history, and that's their desire of how they treat institutions. Three, let's come to the substantive story. We'll leave the duplicity of the Congress, which can be nauseating at times. But let's come to the substantive issue here, which is what with the wire story. I think there's a deeper story here, and one of concern. The first is, a set of people will become the self-proclaimed saviors of democracy, freedom of speech, and civil liberties. Then they will perhaps look for funding from some foreign source. Then they will say, we are journalists, and we are the last free journalists, independent journalists, and therefore what we speak is the gospel truth, somehow trying to survive in a hostile environment. And then they have assumed onto themselves the freedom to do what they like, say what they like, and then say it's an inadvertent error. I mean, this is fake news. They will face the legal consequences, as my colleague in the party, Mr. Amit Malviya, said it. And I'm sure he'll follow it up with both civil and criminal action, that he has those provisions under law. But the larger question here is, how do you call this then journalism? I mean, this is not journalism, this is an agenda. And why not? In a democracy, people are entitled to have an agenda. We have our agenda as a political party, the Congress has its, the left front has this, the wire can also have its agenda. But please don't become sanctimonious and suddenly give yourself your self-proclaimed pat on the back that we are the only ones protecting democracy. This is not democracy. This is fake news at its best. This is proof of the pudding in terms of your report showing that they had to apologize. As far as the Congress party talks about the BJP's imaginary control over the entire global order, including meter, perhaps they would do well to recall Mr. Rahul Gandhi's meeting with Cambridge Analytica. It was certainly not to take lessons on what Janayu should be worn before visiting the next temple. So I think the Congress party is today trying to join the brotherhood of the fringe. Because when they are not part of the mainstream, you then start defending the fringe who do damage to the heart of this country. Okay. And the wire cannot be excluded from that.
Okay, let me bring in Smita Prakash. Smita Prakash, hasn't the apology strengthened the thesis that there are snakes in the Ganga? As Mr. Rajiv Malhotra very eloquently wrote, and this title of his book, that there is an ecosystem that is using disinformation to break India and spread mass disaffection.
Look, Rahul, I just want to say this, that, your reporter Siddharth, he pointed out in his thing, he said there was frauding of video, there was a forging of emails, there were fake screenshots, and then he said that created trails. Now, if you're doing all this, you are into activism, you are into agenda journalism. This is not journalism as such. You were talking about mistakes that are made in newsrooms. We all work in newsrooms, right? You do, I do. What happens? We have firewalls in place. And in live journalism, as you rightly pointed out, that these firewalls can get breached very easily because of the immediacy factor. So like, when there are these firewalls in place and you realize that something has breached the firewall, then what do you do as an editor? As an editor, you or I, what do? We immediately haul up the reporter and say, ye galat hai, this is wrong. What happened? Did you do this deliberately? Was there a mistake? And when it comes to tech-related issues, as the wire says, that not fully grasping the complexities of technology and a slippage in editorial assessment of tech-related matters. This is just a hijab that you're wearing, or this is a mask that you're wearing, that because it is tech-related, you made this error. No. If that could happen once, so it happens with us. It could be a medical issue, COVID-related story. Sometimes an error happens. You call up the reporter and say, "Ki galat hai kya? What is wrong? Is there an agenda? Did you do this deliberately?" And you immediately withdraw the story. In an agency wherever I work, we tell all our subscribers then that, look, we made an error. Please take it down from your television channel, from your website, from your newspaper, wherever it is. And what does a newspaper do? They bring out a report next day as an errata. But then what did these guys do? They kept on repeating, kept on forging or whatever that they have done. They created a trail. Now it's up to the courts to establish it, and Nalin has more faith probably in our civil courts because he practices there. I have very little faith in this ever coming out in the open as to what happened. But look at what is happening already. Already an ecosystem is defending the wire. You saw Mr. Jha, what he said just now. And there are also reports that I'm reading, tweets and, comments that this was probably a psyop operation on the wire to make them look bad in order to affect their funding. And, here you're talking, Mr. Nalin Kohli is talking about foreign funding. No, as Mr. Malhotra pointed out, it's not just foreign funding. Mind you, resources are drying up abroad. This is also funding which is happening from Indians, whether they are, a conduit or whatever. But the fact is that funding is happening to activism, not journalism. All those who are watching and funding these kind of sources, these kind of websites, please be aware that you're funding activism. These are the very sites which asked for proof over Balakot strikes. They said, give us video proof about Balakot strikes. And here are people who are supposedly manufacturing, who are making trails. And they took weeks to take down this erroneous report. Even if you had a sense that, there might be a chance. And please, Mr. Jha, you being, tongue in the cheek talking about the wonderful viewers of Times Now, watch out. You are on Times Now and making fun of viewers of Times Now.
Smita Prakash, which ecosystem are you a part of? Can you tell the public watching?
I am part of no ecosystem because all the subscribers of ANI or of a news agency are people who are across the board, including the viewers of Times Now. You are the one
facts and face the music.
Sanjay Jha,
I'm sorry, you stand exposed.
Sanjay Jha, now look at this. Viewers,
now look,
hang on. Would Sanjay Jha, one second. Would Sanjay Jha,
sorry, Rahul, this is not
would Sanjay Jha, no, one second. Would Sanjay Jha, one second.
Nalin Kohli, paint it as if it's an agenda.
Nalin Kohli, 1 second. Would Sanjay Jha get up right
we tolerated
now?
also Sanjay's point of view.
He has a telephone in his hand. He probably has, let me finish. Nalin Kohli, 1 second. Sanjay Jha probably has a phone with him right now. He can call Siddharth Vardarajan and ask him and use the same tone, tenor, and tell him what he's just said. But he won't, viewers.
He won't, of course he won't.
The question is why.
Nor will he talk disparagingly about the readers of
what are you
Wire,
trying to compare apples and oranges?
There you go. Compare apples and oranges, this, that. Viewers,
everybody calls ANI Amit Narendra International. Everyone calls it Amit Narendra International.
Look at that. Now, just everybody means the Congress party and its
trolls. At one
point
of time, we were called Sonia Media and Mino Media also. You people are the ones who go on giving tags to everybody because you think you are the only journalist in town. You are the ones who are going to save democracy in this country. No, you're not. You are nobody to give us
Mr. Jha, you can boycott ANI if you dislike it so much.
You boycott all the channels.
Why do you have to force yourself to be on something that you consider so
Nalin, why are you defending ANI?
You don't follow.
Nalin, why are you become the lawyer for ANI? You just exposed yourself.
Let's not.
Nalin Kohli, you just exposed yourself.
I don't want to sidetrack this. 1 second. I don't want to sidetrack this.
Mr. Kohli just exposed himself.
Just 1 second. Mr. Jha is an expert at not discussing the issue because today he is embarrassed. He has nothing to say, so he's going to try and take pot shots at people.
No, how dare he make fun of viewers of your own channel?
Well,
it is time to
I think if I were to just open the phone, if I were just to call in, 1 second, if I were to ask viewers to call in, the last time Sanjay Jha was on this show, I know what the viewers said to him. So I don't want to go down there. Let's forget it. I just want to bring in Swarajya magazine, senior editor, Tushar Gupta. I want to bring in Ishkaran Bhandari first. And I want to go back to Rajiv Malhotra and Mr. Chaudhary. Now, 1 second. Let me first go straight across to Ishkaran Bhandari. Mr. Bhandari, I want to ask you a question. should the Editors Guild that called for a Supreme Court inquiry on the back of the Wire's tech fog story now ask for an explanation from the Wire or take action, issue some sort of a show cause? Where is the Editors Guild gone? That's a question that I'm also going to ask you, Smita Prakash, in about 30 seconds. But let Ishkaran Bhandari respond first. Where is the Editors Guild?
Rahul, they are hiding behind some leftist hijab. They have no intention of taking action. But let us deal with the issues one by one. It is not a very difficult issue to understand. There were multiple layers of fakery. It reminds me of Sir Walter Scott. Oh, what a tangled web we weave when we first practice to deceive. And what were they practicing to deceive? A lie, a complete fake news backed by fake evidence. Then they brazened it out. They doubled down and they said that they are fake emails or fake verification and fake certificates. When that was caught, only then, and it was caught, why? Because international tech experts got into the business. When you talk about the tech fog, it was an attack on BJP and international tech experts were not involved, so they were very comfortable to let it go through. Here they took on Meta, here they took on Microsoft, some leader, here they took on people who were not Indians. They could not blame CBI pressure, ED pressure, pressure by BJP, so they had no option but to withdraw the news. If it was a take fog story that lasted, because anybody who fact checked it, they said CBI ka hai, ED ka hai ya BJP ka hai. Now Microsoft, they can't say that. And one more point, which is the bigger point here. What do they do once they withdraw? They immediately issue an appeal for more funds. So now the question is, the people funding them, and as Smita Prakash said, from India, will they stop funding them? After knowing their track record, will they be defunded or will they get more funds? Unfortunate reality is, you take my word for it, they will get more funds unless they face the consequences of law.
Okay, Smita Prakash, where's the Editors Guild? Why haven't they taken an activist position against activist journalism?
Yeah, so I'm part of the Editors Guild, Rahul, and that whole organization is populated by people who are barely editors anymore. There are very few actual working editors, because once you get into the Editors Guild, you can't leave the Editors Guild, you stay there. And unless they throw you out. So there are many editors who are no longer editors, and they are the ones who run that organization. So, you know, elections are held and supposedly and go on. The same people get elected again and again by consensus. Everything happens by consensus because there is an ecosystem of these people who keep talking. So they all, you scratch my back, I scratch my back. This whole ideological adversaries bit. So, you know, which your reporter pointed out. What is ideological adversaries? If you're a journalist, I'm sorry, bring out your reports. Everybody is reporting it. We are all reporting from morning to evening. We are reporting the Bharat Jodo Yatra, aren't we? We start off in the morning at 6:30. Your channel shows it. How dare anybody question or put motives behind any news organization like this? Because we are all subjected to some kind of response from our viewers who say that why are you showing only one party? So we have to show everybody. Whereas these are the people who only, like he just pointed out, the person before me pointed out about tech frog. When they brought out the names, my name was also involved in that, was in that report. I got so many calls from people from a certain ecosystem. Why aren't you tweeting this? Why aren't you putting it? Your name is also on that list. I said, I don't know about this report. I don't know about whether this genesis of this report is right or not. So I didn't tweet it. I didn't talk about it. I didn't say, oh my God, I'm being attacked by trolls. No. These are, I do not subscribe to value to a journalism which is activist oriented. This is not journalism. I'm sorry, Siddharth is a friend. I know Siddharth for a long time. We have reported for a long time together. But that doesn't mean that I subscribe to the journalism of the Wire. Very rightfully pointed out that just because somebody takes them to court, they pull down the stories. But the stories which are done by some of these websites, agenda-driven websites, when they do these stories, unless somebody takes them to court, nothing happens. The stories keep sitting on their line. Whether it is the caravan, whether all these people who are there writing these stories, and you know, do you have the time? Do I have the time to take them to court? It costs a lot of money and energy. None of us have the time. We have to earn a living. So we don't do it. I don't know whether Mr. Malviya, whether he will take this to its logical course and whether because now there are multiple sources, multiple giants, tech giants involved. Maybe something happens. Otherwise, I'm sorry, I don't have much faith in it.
Okay, well, I'll be bringing in Rajiv Malhotra in just a few moments. I'm going to let him have the last word on this show because I have a question and I want an expansive answer from him. But before that, just the two other panelists. Ishkan, I'm just coming out to you. Give me 30 seconds. Swarajya Magazine senior editor Tushar Gupta and also Kamrul Zaman Chaudhary, leader of the Congress. How do you see this, Tushar Gupta? You also run a magazine. How do you see this? Would this happen at the Swarajya?
Rahul, let's put the politics aside for a second.
Yeah.
What was the story from the Wire implying? That Amit Malviya has enough power to take down any social media post he wants to. In January, when the TechFox story was run, they claimed that the BJP had enough firepower to influence trends on Twitter, to use inactive WhatsApp accounts to spam other contacts. Now, this is not some supercomputer they were decoding. This was not millions of lines of codes they were decoding. This was not some encryption key they were unlocking. It was about social media. It was about some email accounts. So last night at midnight, when the Wire issued an apology and they said, we missed some technical details, they were beyond our understanding. I failed to understand which technical details. A week ago, they were experts in how social media works and how BJP controls the social media. A week ago, they understood how the emails work. And a week later, they do not understand how the emails work, how social media works, how WhatsApp accounts work. I mean, at one point, you could even assume that it was an honest mistake, but it was not. It was a clear, fabricated piece of information they circulated in the hope of not getting caught. Had Meta executives not called out the reportage, they would have kept defending
Well, it's a very serious charge made against Meta and the BJP, etc., because it would assume that there was collusion, as Sanjay Jha says, a cozy arrangement, as he also reiterated right now. Of course, viewers, it's easy to pass these comments because no one is going to ask you really to defend or furnish proof. You can speak in insinuations. But Mr. Chaudhary, I'm coming out to you. You're a Congress leader, senior one. I asked Mr. Jha this question. He didn't answer it exactly. So let me try my luck with you. Will the Congress party now use the words Radio Rwanda and North Korean media against the Wire? Or are stories that deliberately undermine and malign India kosher for the Congress party? Simple question. Don't take too much time because if you're going to spin me around, remember you're eating into the time of Rajiv Malhotra, which we don't want. So tell me. Simple, straightforward question.
No, if that's the case, I don't have to forfeit my show out here. You can continue. Because after 45 minutes, if you have run a one-sided agenda-driven debate, then I'm very out of the show. It doesn't matter, Rahul. But since you have invited me, just give me a few seconds. One thing that is there, the entire crux of the debate, a misplaced story, which the Wire has already apologized, is immediately linked to anti-India story, anti-national story, anti-BJP story, to create a hype amongst the entire story. It's that the Wire has clearly put out that the victim of deception by a member of Meta investigation team. Now, Wire has been magnanimous in its apology, but they were not prodded by the NBSA in the Rahul Preet Singh case or the Jaslin Kaur case story, or in the Rahul Gandhi case, or in the Sanjukta Basu case. All were linked to one of your particular channels. Now, my question here to the BJP panelists and all those who are supporting the story against the Wire, does Amit Malviya have the ex-check privileges still from the Meta? Can BJP deny that? News. Can Meta deny this?
Oh my God.
Why is this particular
Mr. Chaudhary, that news has been denied.
No, they
in fact, the apology has been issued. Okay, 1 minute.
5.4.
Chaudhary Saab,
No.
Let us not defend a story that has been withdrawn. Let us not defend a story that has been withdrawn. Mr. Rajiv Malhotra, let me come out to you. Okay, Chaudhary Saab.
My question is a different one.
Right.
Okay. It's a different story.
Right. Chaudhary Saab, please don't bring in different stories. I haven't analyzed all these different stories. Please listen. It's not as if Wire is only being pulled up for this one story. TechFog used downgrade India's democracy. That story today stands retracted for whatever reasons I don't know. But the damage is done. India's rating is not going to bounce back up. Mr. Malhotra, the story might have been retracted, but the ecosystem that propagated it and influenced the good folks at Freedom House has not come back and said, oh, we use this to downgrade India, now let's put back India on its pedestal. It's not. That damage is done, isn't it?
Yeah, so I have seen this over the last 30 years, that when there is a malignment of India, in the international affairs, this was the case when Ayodhya, this was the case when some nuns got killed, all sorts of things. It's one-sided, and then when the courts rule the other way, they don't retract. So I'm surprised that this story, which is so big in India, has not been picked up by anybody in the Western press in the US, who are keen to jump on India and jump on its democracy and its government and the Hindu people running it and all that stuff whenever they get the slightest excuse. But when things work the other way around, there is silence, and so this is very strange. It's a one way when they can hound India, they will.
Yeah.
But when they need to retract and apologize, they don't. So
well, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. I can't put a finger on it, viewers, but there's something wrong. I leave it at this. The news are coming up in just a few moments. tonight, viewers.
President Draupadi Murmu inspected the parade at Rashtrapati Bhavan in Delhi to present silver trumpet and trumpet banner to the president's bodyguard at a ceremony at the Bhavan forecourt. Union Home Minister Amit Shah chaired Chintan Shiva or the brainstorming session on internal security, which was attended by Chief Ministers of 8 states and Home Ministers of 16 states in Faridabad. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh attended the Shaurya Divas program in Budgam. During the event, he paid respect to brave hearts and said Pakistan will have to face consequences for atrocities against the people in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Army establishments across the country celebrated the 76th Infantry Day to pay homage to the soldiers who fought for the country and laid down their lives in the line of duty. After a gap of 3 days, the Congress Bharat Jodo Yatra led by Rahul Gandhi resumed from Maktal in Telangana, marking the 50th day of the Yatra.
The most pressing issue, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shivshankar.
आपको सब फिल्म स्टार ही चाहिए मथुरा में।
नहीं हेममान
कन्हैया जी ने भक्त चाहिए ही कल रात की सावन का ऑल्सो बिकम सांसद बनना चाहेंगे उसको तो आप बनने नहीं देंगे। आप दिमाग में सबको ऐसा डाल के रखेंगे फिल्म स्टार ही बनेगा। आपको सब फिल्म स्टार ही चाहिए मथुरा में।
नहीं हेममान
कन्हैया जी ने भक्त चाहिए ही कल रात की सावन का ऑल्सो बिकम बहुत अच्छी बात है।
आपका क्या विचार है इस बार? आप
मेरा विचार क्या मैं बताऊं? मेरा विचार भगवान के ऊपर है। लॉर्ड कृष्णा विल डू इट।
मैं तो देश की सेवा के लिए ही पैदा हुई हूँ और मैं देश की सेवा करना चाहती हूँ और क्यों नहीं हमारे मोदी साहब हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी चाय बनाते बनाते प्रधानमंत्री जी पीएम बन सकते हैं तो मैं बॉलीवुड में काम करते करते सीएम क्यों नहीं बन सकती हूँ? डेफिनेटली मैं बनूंगी। आप सबका आशीर्वाद चाहिए। तो 2024 में अब आप मुझे चुनाव लड़ते हुए देखेंगे किसके अपोजिट, ये सरप्राइज है।
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For years they have taken up cudgels to bash Bharat and berate our forces. They whitewash the genocide and mock the pain of Hindus. Farooq Abdullah joined the list of many who believed in maligning India in order to appease a vote bank. From banking on China to restore Article 370 to an anti-Tiranga pitch to rallying behind stone pelters who wreaked havoc in Jammu and Kashmir, the former Chief Minister Farooq Abdullah has always toed the anti-India line. Today, the same man, Farooq Abdullah, who has also been vocal about how India should be in talks with Pakistan in order for lasting peace in the valley, said that it's not his job to appeal to Pakistan to stop the bloodshed in the valley. Listen in.
Who am I to appeal? It's not my job. It is for Government of India's job. It's the Prime Minister's job. Not Farooq Abdullah. It's the Prime Minister. Not Farooq Abdullah.
While Farooq Abdullah's Pak Prem is well known, his comment today giving a free pass to Pakistan has revealed his abject disregard for the lives of innocents in the Kashmir Valley, including Hindus who were killed for just their faith. This frustration comes just a day after Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, Manoj Sinha, rained fire on Talk to Pakistan lobby left, right and centre. Hitting out at politicians seeking talks with Pakistan, he said that he considered them more guilty than those who had direct contact with terrorism. Listen in to the LG of Jammu and Kashmir.
कुछ लोग ये कोशिश करते हैं कि यहाँ तब तक सब कुछ ठीक नहीं हो सकता जब तक पाकिस्तान के साथ आप नहीं जुड़ जाएंगे। ये वो लोग हैं जिन्होंने जम्मू कश्मीर को यहाँ पहुंचाया है और मैं मानता हूं कि वो ज्यादा गुनाहगार हैं उन लोगों से जिन्होंने आतंकवाद से सीधे अपना रास्ता रखा है। ये ऐसे लोग हैं जो जानते हैं कि जब तक आतंकवाद एक सर्टेन लेवल ऑफ वायलेंस, मिलिटेंसी, टेररिज्म नहीं रहेगा तो दिल्ली में हमें नहीं कोई पूछेगा।
Ladies and gentlemen, let me give you a glimpse of what happened when I confronted Farooq for watching over the Hindu genocide silently. Listen in just 3 or 4 weeks ago when I questioned Farooq Abdullah on this, trying to do a frankly speaking interview with him. Listen in. इतिहास आपसे पूछता है कि जब 3 हिंदू, टीकालाल टपलू, जस्टिस नीलाकांत गंजू, जब जर्नलिस्ट प्रेमनाथ भट्ट को शूट कर दिया था और ये सितंबर 1989, अक्टूबर 1989, दिसंबर 1989 जब आप मुख्यमंत्री थे तो आपने क्या?
What is your interview for? What is your interview for?
My interview is for asking about
Please,
Kashmir.
take it away. I'm not ready to give her interview. She is totally
तो आप
one-sided BJP person.
मैं बीजेपी की हूं और कश्मीरी हिंदू किसके हैं? आपके नहीं है, आपके नहीं है फारूक अब्दुल्ला साहब। फारूक अब्दुल्ला साहब कश्मीर पे सवालों के जवाब नहीं देना चाहते, कश्मीरी हिंदुओं के सवालों के जवाब देना ही नहीं चाहते। And it's not just Farooq Abdullah. Law Minister Kiran Rijiju today highlighted Nehruvian blunders for which India has paid a heavy price for the past 7 decades. On the 75th anniversary of Kashmir's accession to India, Rijiju said that while Maharaja Hari Singh had requested Nehru for Kashmir's accession to India just a month before partition, Nehru did not accede to his request and created several conflicts due to his personal agenda. Rijiju also called out Nehru declaring accession provisional and invoking Article 370, all because of a friendship that Nehru needed to keep with Sheikh Abdullah, Farooq Abdullah's father. The BJP has slammed Farooq Abdullah for patronizing terrorism. Listen in.
There are some peoples, those are always advocating for the dialogue with Pakistan. This is very shame that a murderer is being patronized on the name of dialogue.
पाकिस्तान बार बार यहाँ पर घुसपैठ करा करके आतंकी भेज रहा है और ये राजनेता उनसे बात करने की सिफारिश करते हैं, सरासर गलत है, इसको बर्दाश्त नहीं किया जाना चाहिए।
So the legitimate question we are asking on the Newshour tonight, slamming Pak terror not Farooq Abdullah's job? That's the question and the debate. Farooq Pak Free Pass. That's the hashtag and the debate on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And joining me tonight, Shehzad Poonawala, national spokesperson of the BJP, Majid Haidri, political analyst, Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst, Vivek Srivastav, also political analyst. But my first question goes to Sushil Pandit, activist. Sushil Pandit, I ask you this question tonight because you are one of those who belong to the lakhs of Kashmiri Hindus who've had to leave Kashmir. Farooq Abdullah will not answer a single question that we raise on Kashmiri Hindus. He will request the government of India, he will keep putting pressure on the government of India to talk to Pakistan, but he will not make an appeal to Pakistan to stop spreading terror in India. How do you respond to such callousness from a family, from a man whose family has held the post of the chief minister for decades after decades?
Navika, he won't answer your questions because you are not a tribunal that should try him for a genocide. This man was the chief minister of Jammu and Kashmir for the entire period when terrorism, when jihad was unleashed on us, hapless Hindus, under his watch. He saw to it that these jihadis were released when they were caught on border trying to sneak into India. 80 of them were released between July and November 1989. July and December 1989. And he released 5 dreaded terrorists in the name of that drama of Rubaiyah Saeed's kidnapping. He eventually fled his government and went on to play golf. He came back in 96 and presided over horrendous massacres like Vandhama, like Nadimarg, like Sangrampura. He squandered away all the gains that were made by Gary Saxena under his governorship by breaking the back of jihad and ensuring elections in 96, by getting all the counterinsurgents shot dead, including the leader called Kukapare. This man passed a resolution in the assembly asking for pre-1953 status, despite the fact that his own father, Sheikh Abdullah, in 1978 had constituted a committee under his own deputy chief minister, which had gone into the question of all the subsequent changes since 1953 and held them appropriate, held them kosher, welcomed them. But his son today and his grandson, Sheikh Abdullah's grandson and Farooq Abdullah's son, want for pre-1953 status in 370. The sum and substance of his politics is batting for Pakistan. Sum and substance of his politics is hide and seek with jihad. Sum and substance of his politics must face the consequences of unleashing a genocide in Kashmir. He can run away from your questions, Navika, but he will not be able to run away from a tribunal which will hold him guilty and will make him face the consequences of subjecting us to a genocide which he has not faced. And those who have helped him commit that genocide, all the criminals who were supposed to be tried for heinous crimes like mass murder, rape, abduction, have not been tried. His son has presided over governments over 12 years after our exodus. Not one man till date has been tried, punished, sentenced. He owes an answer. He owes an answer to you, he owes an answer to us. But when there is a tribunal, an anti-genocide tribunal, let us see how much he runs away from those questions and avoids giving those answers.
I know, Sushil Pandit, you hurt. I know you cry. I know there are people who have not stopped shedding their tears and people who've become absolutely stone dry because they have no tears left. And Tehseen Poonawala, I want to ask you, historical blunders that have been made, all in the name of friendship. Friendship between Nehru and Sheikh Abdullah, friendship between Rajiv Gandhi and Farooq Abdullah, leading to what happened in the 1990s in terms of the genocide. Friendship between Rahul Gandhi and Omar Abdullah. Friendships that have actually held this country to ransom. Article 370, thank you for the gift that the Congress party gave this country. Not temporary status which continued for nearly 7 decades. Thank you, Congress, that we must say this, that this is what you've left behind in terms of a legacy, and the fact that Kashmir was acceded to India in October and not in July, when it was Maharaja Hari Singh who was ready. Reminders that come from Kiran Rijiju actually show you that from then on to today, when Farooq Abdullah says, I cannot appeal to Pakistan for peace in India, it clearly shows the shocking reality of the coziness and the vote bank politics that both these parties have continued to do. Tehseen Poonawalla, today an apology to the nation?
Good evening, Navika. Yes, an apology to the nation is due, but this apology to the nation is due from the Honorable Law Minister of India, Kiran Rijiju ji, who I say with a lot of responsibility on your show, like all BJP leaders, spreads WhatsApp University Gyan or lies. Otherwise, perhaps Times of India, which I refer to, and 5th June 1948, Shri Pandit Jawahar Lal Nehru ji's letter to Vallabhbhai Patel on why Maharaja Hari Singh is acting funny and not answering Lord Mountbatten, and he has to now, Lord Mountbatten has to go and ask him for the accession. I can put all of that in public domain, but I won't get into much of details. Just to tell you, suffice that Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was not just the architect of Article 317, he approved it. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee was involved in it, and Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, as a member of cabinet, was a part of India going to the United Nations and endorsed it. But let me come to present history 1990, because that seems to be the focus of the debate, and I'll be very brief out there. Yes, as Sushil Pandit Bhai rightly said, that there were terrorists from Pakistan coming into India. External affairs then was the domain of the union government. Just to remind your viewers, it was the BJP, Advani and VP Singh government. Congress was in opposition. Just to remind your viewers, and I'm quoting Times of India, Rajiv Gandhi had to, I cannot debate if I'm going to be interrupted. These are my conditions. I will not debate. You have to allow me my time. It keeps happening with me. I'm not going to debate them. I'm just quoting Times of India. It is Rajiv Gandhi who had to ask the Congress to ghero parliament to make sure that the army intervenes in Kashmir, because Advani and VP Singh was snoozing. I also have to remind your viewers about one more thing. When Miss Mehbooba Mufti's sister was kidnapped, her father was the Home Minister of India serving with VP Singh and Advani in government. Farooq Abdullah and Rajiv Gandhi were in opposition. This is the fact of our country. And since 1990 to 2022, 14 years there's been a BJP government. A BJP government has gone on record in Supreme Court and said we don't want any justice for Pandit. We cannot open this case. That has been their stand. Why has the government not had a tribunal? Those are the questions. And today when our Pandit brothers are being killed, it's again a BJP government in the center. Why isn't there a white paper?
My friend, have you forgotten the truth of Yasin Malik and Dr. Manmohan Singh? If you have forgotten that truth, let me remind you. 2006.
Let me show you Atal Bihari Vajpayee with Yasin Malik.
No. Let me show you. Let me show you this picture, my friend. Let me show you this picture. You and your government were actually sitting together wanting international experts to come in and help on solving the Kashmir problem. Something that Nehru did way back in 1947 as well. My question to you is, and to Shehzad Poonawalla tonight, is whitewashing history. I'm coming to you, Sushil Pandit. Shehzad Poonawalla. Tehseen Poonawalla says that Kiran Rijiju's history is wrong and that Farooq Abdullah is actually the son of the soil of Kashmir.
Whatever arguments we may want to make before I start my submissions, at least we must, if we can't do anything for Sushil Pandit, we must not abuse and insult him on national television, and at least Congress should not do that. But anyways, let's come to the debate. From blunders of Nehru to wonders of Farooq. मतलब सोचिए, भारत बैशिंग करेंगे अपरंपार और पाकिस्तान पर चुप और लाचार। अब मैं आपको बताता हूं कि कैसे 1947 में नेहरू जी हो या फारूक अब्दुल्ला 2022 में हो, दोनों में किस प्रकार से फैमिली फर्स्ट की पॉलिटिक्स की चलते ही ये पूरी समस्या पैदा हुई. First, think about what Mr. Nehru did. When there was an offer in July 1947 that let Kashmir accede into India, he refused it. He blatantly, and the fact of that has been conceded by Mr. Nehru in the Lok Sabha debate in 1952. Second historical blunder that he made was that he went and even when the invasion started, tried to deter from it because family first policy के तहत शेख अब्दुल्ला को इंस्टॉल करना जरूरी था, not the safety and the welfare of the people of Jammu Kashmir and the integration of Jammu Kashmir. Third mistake, internal issue was made international issue by going to the United Nations, and the same mistake was made when the Article 370 was abrogated. Who got up in Parliament? Leader of opposition, Mr. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, saying that this is not internal issue of India, it is an issue between Pakistan and India. Again, internationalization of that issue. Fourth mistake that they made was that they continued to create this infrastructure of sowing seeds of separatism of 370, and Mr. Nehru himself said then that घिसते घिसते साबुन घिस जाना है. जब घिस गया ये 370 का साबुन, मोदी जी ने घिसवा दिया इस साबुन को, और आज ज्योग्राफिकल ही नहीं बल्कि रूहानी इंटीग्रेशन जम्मू कश्मीर का हो रहा है. एंड लुक एट व्हाट हैज हैपेंड प्री 370 एंड पोस्ट 370. फर्स्ट अलगाववाद, आतंकवाद, पाकिस्तान परस्ती, परिवारवाद की राजनीति चलती थी, आज डीडीडी की राजनीति चल रही है, डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन. पावर वाज इन 3 hands of Jammu Kashmir, of families of Jammu Kashmir. Today the power has gone back to 30,000 people, whether it's the DDC elections, the BDC elections, the Tehsil Panchayat elections. D for development, 15,000 crores came before the abrogation of Article 370, 70 years. Now 56,000 crores have come. It was a terror hotspot, 42,000 people were killed, and the terrorism was there at the peak. Now it's become a tourist hotspot, 1.62 crore tourists have come, and now Patharbaji is completely over, terrorism is down by 50%. But I know what is the next question. The next question is, कब कश्मीरी पंडितों को वापस ले जाएंगे? I might add that Sushil Pandit and his brethren are not some animals that we will lock them up in the cage and we will say, आओ सुशील पंडित अब चले जाओ उन्हीं नेबर्स के बीच में जो आपके जेनोसाइड को एक्नॉलेज भी नहीं करते. And therefore I have one DNA test. If they want to talk about Kashmiri Pandits, this Mr. Majid Haidari is sitting here. His own neighbors have said Raleef, Sharif, Ghalib, and they have pushed out the family of Sushil Pandit. Today I asked him, does he acknowledge that it was Islamic Jihad? Question 1. 2. Does he acknowledge that Afzal Guru, Burhan Wani and Yasin Malik, who used to get biryani in Manmohan Singh's office, who has been convicted now, is an Atankwadi? And 3. Will he now say that today the abrogation of Article 370 was the best move that has taken place? No, he will never say this. Until this time, this mindset is not. It will change. When this mindset changes, at that time, the true idea of Jammu Kashmir will prevail, and at that time, you will see the Kashmiri Pandits themselves want to go back.
Majid Haidari, you want to respond?
Well, yes, Navika Sahiba, firstly, happy Shaurya Divas to everybody. Much the way we owe our independence to Pandit Jawahar Lal Nehru ji, we owe the celebrations of this day to Dr. Farooq Abdullah Sahab. Because had Dr. Abdullah Sahab not stood up for the democracy at the peak of terrorism in 1996 to stand up against bullets of terrorists and for the tricolor, this could not have been possible today for us to celebrate the Shaurya Divas. But before extending it further, please, Shahzad bhai, I have a request. Never try to criticize Nehru ji. Because criticizing Nehru ji is like abusing India's struggle for independence. Because had there been no Nehru ji, there would be no free India. Because it was Nehru ji who negotiated with Lord Mountbatten and not any Shahbaz Prasad Mukherjee or ABC. So let's respect Nehru ji for being not only the first Prime Minister, but somebody who gave us independence, to talk even against him, much the way you have been and your party has been doing. And you come up in a Nehru jacket and then you have to Nehru, that shows your mentality. See, now coming to the point of Kashmiri Pandit, I have a very humble son. See, I don't doubt the commitment of Modi ji and Amit Shah towards Naya Kashmir. But why is there a trust deficit in way of rehabilitation of Kashmiri Pandits in Kashmir? I mean, why can't somebody like Chief Secretary Carter Man Atal Dulu is a... Why can't somebody like former DGP Kuldeep Huda Sahab or Amitabh Bhattu Sahab be in the decision making? Why are Kashmiri Pandits not getting even a voice in BJP government? What is the problem? Why is BJP government even not bothered about letting them speak in the idea of governance? So why is BJP so discriminatory towards Pandits? Forget about what people we have done. Relief, forget everything.
Okay.
Kindly let me know.
I'll ask that question of the BJP. I will ask that question of the BJP. But I want to ask you, Majid Haidari, Farooq Abdullah में तो दम नहीं है to appeal to Pakistan to stop spreading terror in India. आप में है? आप अपील करते
फारूक अब्दुल्ला साहब में दम था कि उनने अपनी कुर्सी त्याग दी जब उनसे हत्याएं रोकी नहीं गई. But I have never seen anybody from BJP resigning or from the Jammu and Kashmir administration resigning over the targeted killing of Kashmiri Pandits.
Can you appeal to Pakistan to stop spreading terror in India? Can you appeal?
I would request my honorable Prime Minister to make the beginning and I'll follow him. मैं मोदी बन के दिन रात वही बोलूंगा जो मोदी जी.
अच्छा, अकेले आपके पास दम नहीं है, ये पाकिस्तान का नाम
I'm concerned. I'm a very sensitive citizen. I go by what my Prime Minister says.
Oh my God, very good. That's a good thing.
I'll follow this.
I am very happy.
Okay.
I am very happy that he's following the right Prime Minister. Till yesterday they were following somebody else and Imran Khan in particular. But today our Prime Minister forget seeking request etc. अभी जब होता है ना हमला तो सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक और बालाकोट एयर स्ट्राइक होता है. ये 26/11 के बाद जो सरकार जो MFN स्टेटस देती थी पाकिस्तान को वो सरकार नहीं है. माजिद हैदरी मैंने आपसे 2-3 सवाल पूछे. मैंने आपसे पूछा रिपेंट, आप रिहैबिलिटेशन की बात कर रहे हो. बिफोर रिहैबिलिटेशन कम्स रिपेंटेंस एंड द रिपेंटेंस विल कम व्हेन यू फर्स्ट एक्नॉलेज दैट इट वाज इस्लामिक जिहाद. यू डिड नॉट आंसर. व्हेन यू विल एक्नॉलेज दैट मिस्टर बुरहान वानी, मिस्टर अफजल गुरु एंड यासीन मलिक आर ऑल टेररिस्ट. यू डिड नॉट आंसर. बट नॉनदलेस यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट स्टेक होल्डर्स ऑफ कश्मीरी पंडित्स, राइट? नाविका जी, आपको याद होगा टाइम्स नाउ ने एक स्टोरी की थी. मनमोहन सिंह किसको स्टेक होल्डर बनाते थे? यासीन मलिक was made part of a 18-member committee to discuss what? To discuss how to negotiate peace with militants. Imagine this. Today we do not have these kinds of stakeholders. But yes, Majid Haidari, I ask you only one specific question that you must answer. After 23 years, first time now the movies are screening in Jammu Kashmir. आप इसका स्वागत करते हैं कि नहीं करते? Today for the first time 106 central laws including right to information, right to education are applicable. इसका स्वागत करते हैं नहीं करते हैं? आज मुझे बताइए कि 30,000 लोगों तक डेमोक्रेसी पहुंचा, DDC के चुनाव हुए, आप उसका स्वागत करते हैं नहीं करते? और कश्मीरी पंडितों की बात करते हैं सवाल का जवाब दीजिए ना. सवाल का जवाब दीजिए कि आज तो हम पाकिस्तान को मुंह तोड़ जवाब देते आतंकवाद पर. आप एक आतंकवादी को आतंकवादी नहीं बोल पा रहे. अफजल गुरु आतंकवादी है, हाँ या ना?
Sir, should I appreciate
आतंकवादी है अफजल गुरु, हाँ या ना?
Tourists visiting Kashmir when Kashmiri Pandits have not been rehabilitated.
अब मुझे बताइए आतंकवादी है अफजल गुरु, हाँ या ना?
Pandits have not been appreciated. No,
देखिए ये बात करते हैं. एक और बात. अच्छा माजी रहती है
I don't understand why are you sidetracking the issue. Is Burhan Wani a terrorist or not? Yes or no? Simple answer.
अगर बुरहान वानी को आतंकी कहने से मेरे पंडित भाई वापस आ जाएंगे सुबह तो ठीक है, मैं कहता हूँ.
अच्छा, पाकिस्तान को अपील.
Is my statement going to make any change? For the BJP to bring the change, brother. I'm not here for any vote taking. ये तमाशा नहीं चल रहा है.
माजी रहती एक 5 सेकंड का सवाल. ये आतंकवादी घोषित करना है किसी को नहीं करना है वो छोड़ दीजिए, बहुत आउट ऑफ सिलेबस है. आपके लिए एक सवाल. जो महात्मा गांधी का सबसे प्रिय भजन था जो उन्होंने गाया था, उस भजन को जब इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया तो उसको क्या कहा गया कि ये हिंदुत्व प्रोजेक्ट है. बताइए कि इस भजन को भी आपने रिजेक्ट कर दिया, जिसमें कि क्यों रिजेक्ट किया? जिसमें कह रहे हैं कि अल्लाह भगवान सबको सम्मति दे, भगवान सबको सम्मति दे अल्लाह, उसको भी आपने रिजेक्ट कर दिया. बताइए कि वो भजन को मानते कि नहीं मानते? उसको भी आपने कम्युनल कह दिया.
गांधी जी से याद पड़ा, गांधी जी की हत्या से कुछ घंटे पहले नथुराम गोडसे सावरकर से मिला था. क्यों मिला था वो आप बता दीजिए देश को, क्योंकि आपने गांधी जी की बात की ना, तो गांधी जी की हत्या से सावरकर ने क्या बात की थी?
Let's not sidetrack. I am asking you, आप अपील कर सकते हैं पाकिस्तान को? Yes or no?
Attempt to suicide is not allowed. It's a cognizable offense. Don't make me attempt suicide, and you are trying to force me to a suicide.
Okay. कितना डरते हैं, कितना डरते हैं. सुशील पंडित, this is what I wanted to demonstrate to you, that पाकिस्तान का नाम लेते हुए कितना कांपते हैं ये. लेकिन हाथ में जो लोग पत्थर उठाते हैं और जो लोग कश्मीरी हिंदुओं को मारते हैं उनके लिए कुछ नहीं कहा जाता.
नाविका जी, ये इस देश की त्रासदी है. वी आर cursed with people who bat for Pakistan while living here, breathing here and getting the protection and privileges under our constitution. But I must give priority to nail the lies that were spewed on your program by the wrong Poonawala. He says the management of international borders through which the terrorists sneaked in
was under a VP Singh Mufti Muhammad Saeed government, he must first check his facts. The first bomb blast that took place in Kashmir was on the intervening night of 31st of July and 1st of August 1988 in Telegraph Office. The last I checked, it was Rajiv Gandhi, the Prime Minister, and Farooq Abdullah, the Chief Minister in Kashmir. The second attack that took place by 4 armed jihadis on the house of Ali Muhammad Watali, DIG, took place on 17th of September 1988. Again, Farooq Chief Minister, Rajiv Prime Minister. The killing of Tikalal Taplu on 13th of September 1989. Rajiv Prime Minister, Farooq Chief Minister. The killing of Neelkant Ganju on 2nd of November 1989. Rajiv Prime Minister, Farooq Chief Minister. And release of terrorists on 15th of December 1989. Farooq Chief Minister. Till 18th of January. Farooq Chief Minister. How can you simply wash off? Simply deny
one line.
Ability. Can you challenge these dates?
Yes,
Can you
I
refute these facts? Please.
Yes. I'll just take 10 seconds. On 15th December 1989, when terrorists were released, BP Singh was Prime Minister, Advani was in alliance, and Farooq Abdullah is on record saying don't release the terrorists, and Rajiv Gandhi is on record saying that we have to verify the parliament. Please, it was VP Singh was Prime Minister on 15th December 1989.
Farooq was Chief Minister.
Chief Minister was not consulted. He resigned.
70 Center could not intervene. Farooq had to do it.
The central government. Advani released terrorists.
Did Farooq Abdullah resign on the 15th of December 1989? Did Farooq Abdullah resign on the 15th of December 1989? Tehseen Poonawalla, are you going to teach wrong history to the people of India just like the Congress did in its textbook? And you tried to mislead our viewers today by stating wrong facts. You said that Jawahar Lal Nehru did not delay. It was actually Maharaja Hari Singh who delayed the accession of Kashmir to India. May I just read the statement made by Nehru ji in the parliament, unless these were not facts that he was stating there. Nehru in his own words said that Kashmir at first informally came up before us. It was always before us in a sense, but it came up before us informally round about July or the middle of July. The advice we gave to, please hear this, the advice we gave to Kashmir state was, and if I may say so, we had contacts with the popular organization there, the National Conference and its leaders, and we had contacts with the Maharaja's government also, rather vague contacts, but they dealt with us. The advice we gave to both was that Kashmir is a special case and it would not be right or proper to try to rush things there, and the general principle we had laid down that the people of the state should be consulted, specially applied to Kashmir. So it was Nehru who delayed.
One second. Navika, just give me 10 seconds, then you can answer in a consolidated manner. Just 10 seconds. Tehseen Poonawalla made another lie on this channel. The terrorists were released between July and December 1989. Mr. VP Singh was sworn in on 2nd December 1989. The terrorists were released at a time when Rajiv Gandhi was in charge, interim position. If this is an India Today report, ma'am, I'm sorry to quote an India Today report on your platform. There's a Times of India report also, I'm sure. Ma'am, please see this. It's right here. List of terrorists released by Farooq Abdullah government between July and December 1989. Mr. Sheshpal Vaid. If you can take him on the phone, he will also tell you, the former DGP of Jammu Kashmir. This is a lie that Tehseen Poonawalla and the Congress ecosystem, they will go to the extent of saying कि सुशील पंडित के साथ genocide भी नहीं हुआ. ये तो उनको मौका दे दो आप, दे विल से कि ये सुशील पंडित तो झूठ बोलता है, ये इसके साथ जेनोसाइड ही कब हुआ. और उन्होंने कहा था ना, आपको याद है नरसिम्हा राव की गवर्नमेंट में क्या कहा, ये फोर्स्ड माइग्रेशन था. मिस्टर पंडित डिड नॉट लाइक द जम्मू कश्मीर वैलीज, सो ही जस्ट रैन अवे फ्रॉम देयर. उनके साथ कुछ हुआ नहीं, रलीफ सलीफ गलीफ के नारे नहीं लगे. यू हैव ब्रोकन दिस डॉक्यूमेंट योरसेल्फ. दिस वाज द कांग्रेस स्टैंड. And I am saying July to December 1989 the terrorists were released. VP Singh government came after December 1989.
Well,
can I please?
Yes, respond.
Can I please? Yes. First of all, I cannot believe that such lies are being allowed on your television. Rubina Syed was kidnapped after she was the Home Minister's daughter, and he was the Home Minister in VP Singh's government, and it was the Union government, the VP Singh Advani government, that released the terrorist to specifically set her free in December, and Farooq Abdullah had objected to it. I cannot believe that such lies are being allowed to be spoken on your show. But more importantly, in June 1948, Nehru establishes contact with Hari Singh, rather weak contact. It is that Nehru does say that we must consult the people of Kashmir, just like the people of Junagadh was to be consulted, even by Vallabhbhai Patel, because they were rulers, a majority of the population was different. The king was of a different religion. That was the method India had adopted. But the architect of 370
so we
is Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel.
We were talking not for unification of India. We were talking in order to appease, in order to ensure that there was a prime ministership of Jammu and Kashmir that would be available to Sheikh Abdullah, and the same Farooq Abdullah today says he cannot appeal to Pakistan. How does that sound to you, Sushil Pandit?
No, he wouldn't. He is batting for Pakistan in India, on Indian soil. His son and he actually, when they went to Pakistan, apologized for their grandfather's mistake of having sided with India. They brought themselves a reprieve. And while addressing the gathering at Hazrat Bal Mosque 3 years back, he told the world in Kashmiri that these stone pelters are not pelting stones for becoming MLAs, MPs and ministers. They pelt their stones because they are Watan Parast. They do it for their nation. And he said to Hurriyat, don't consider us your enemies. Our goals are same. Let us work together. This is the Farooq Abdullah, real Farooq Abdullah, who was one of the founders of JKLF in 1971 in London. He is photographed with the founders like Amanullah Khan. This man, do we trust him with the welfare of Kashmir? This man was put under house arrest on August 5 because he was responsible for the destruction of Kashmir as we knew it before 1990. And yet, I must say it with sorry apologies to Shehzad Poonawala, this man was invited to Prime Minister's house by our Prime Minister on 24th of June 2021 in order to consult him on how to restore normalcy in Kashmir. Why do we give this ogre so many lives? Why do we give him legitimacy? Why don't we try him and punish him? Why don't we make him face consequences of his crime?
But Sushil Pandit, there are no evidences left of the cases that happened then, because the Congress made sure there was nothing left. In fact, on many occasions they didn't even send their police people to represent the government to produce evidence in courts of law. Isn't that true?
I want to make a fact check.
May I respond?
I want to make a very important fact check on this.
Sushil Pandit ji.
I want to make a fact check. I just take 10 seconds, then you respond to me.
I'll just take 10 seconds. After Shehzad.
I'll just take 10 seconds.
साल आपने फैक्ट को गुमराह किया और अब फैक्ट चेक करने आ गए. वाह भाई वाह. अब सुन लीजिए.
10 seconds. I'll just take 10 seconds. It's a request. It's a very humble.
चलिए आप 10 से आपको 70 साल मिले थे भाई.
On 8th December, I'm reading from TOI. On 8th December 1989, Rubaya was abducted from a minibus in Srinagar while her father was the Union Home Minister in the BP Singh.
I knew you would say this.
Point fact number 1. Fact number 2.
I know this. Everyone knows this.
1 second. Don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me. The then Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Farooq Abdullah was in London. He rushed back from London. In the meanwhile, VP Singh deputed 2 ministers, I.K. Gujral and Arif Mohammad Khan, to negotiate with the terrorists. And in the political tussle, 5 terrorists were released despite written opposition by Farooq Abdullah as Chief Minister. 37 days later, he resigned. Please don't lie on national television.
All right, it is not Shehzad.
Navika, now if this man has,
all right, 10 seconds over, long since over. Shehzad responding to you.
First of all, I never said that Rubia Syed was not kidnapped at the during the VP Singh government tenure, but I am talking about the 70 terrorists, including Farooq Ahmad Thakur, Riaz Ahmad Lone, Ghulam Mohammed Uddin Teli, Nazir Ahmad Sheikh, Farooq Ahmad Malik, Ghulam Mohammad Gujri, Farooq Ahmad Ganai, all of these dreaded terrorists were released during the period of Rajiv Gandhi and Farooq Abdullah, who are putting friendship and family above national interest. Point number one. Please hear the facts and then respond. Secondly, now please do not interrupt. Now do not interrupt. At least show civility. At least show Tehseen. Do not interrupt and break my flow. Do not interrupt. You can speak in your time. Thank you. Now, Mr. Sushil Pandit's concerns. Of course, he will have concerns, and you have concerns only with those whom you have expectations from. Who thought before 2019 that Yasin Malik would ever be convicted and called a terrorist? That he would be tried for the IF officers' Hatya? That Jamaat-e-Islami would be banned? That Hurriyat, Algawad back would be broken? That Syed Salahuddin and other people whose family members found jobs would be denied this job opportunity and Article 370 would be removed? Nobody thought of this. Today this has happened. Many things are yet to happen. But I ask one question with all earnestness to Majid Hydari. Majid Hydari, Farooq Abdullah said that Kashmiris are happier under Chinese rule. The same Chinese rule, if that Chinese people see you, they will put you in a jail. They will say stop reading your Quran. They will say stop naming your children Muhammad. They will say that you cannot practice Islam and you must eat pork. Are you standing with the statement of Farooq Abdullah, yes or no?
The Chief Minister is subservient to Prime Minister, and that is exactly what happened at the time of Kandahar hijacking. Dr. Farooq Abdullah had requested Atal Bihari Vajpayee not to release the terrorists, but the BJP government went ahead with the release of terrorists because they had their vested interest there.
And what was Sonia Gandhi's role at that time in the all-party meeting? वो भी quote कर लो ना थोड़ा. Selectively quote करते हो. सोनिया गांधी ने क्या मांग रखी थी all-party meeting में? जरा बता दो. She said that don't release the terrorists. Did she say don't release the terrorists? Ask this congressman also. Ask this congressman or you answer what Sonia Gandhi's stand was in all-party meeting. Then you take the stand. You will put pressure that release the terrorists, let us save our citizens, and then you will come outside the meeting and take a different stand 20 years later. Now you answer the question about Farooq Abdullah and his statement on China.
Running the country. She has sacrificed her power, her position, everything for the country. She was never in power. She was only in the meeting there. The decision was taken by BJP.
Then after 26/11, why didn't they go and destroy the terrorist camps in Pakistan?
Well, I just want to come back. I just want to come back. I just want to come back to the main issue.
Liberated Bangladesh,
My friend Majid Hydari. Majid Hydari, the question tonight is simply this: that आपके मुंह से इतना नहीं निकलता कि भाई पाकिस्तान बंद करो ये खून खराबा. You keep pressurizing the government of India to keep talking to Pakistan, but you yourself will not even stand in your own home and appeal to Pakistan to stop this. Why, sir?
No, when my government enjoys Virat Kohli playing against Pakistan, why should I poke my nose into this issue? When my government is happy distributing sweets to Pakistani forces on the day of independence, why should I poke my nose into it? Rajnath Singh ji is reminded of POK only because
your government has told Pakistan categorically that terror will not be tolerated anymore and no MFN status anymore, no biryani anymore. If you do an act of terror, you pay a price. Do you stand with that stand also of government of India?
No, आपने खोए के पेड़े बांटे वाघा बॉर्डर पे और आज आपको पीड़ा याद पड़ी.
अच्छा, तो मैं आपको बता देता हूँ ना, हिंदी में कहावत है, हिंदी में कहावत. एक सेकंड, मैं आपको एक लाइन में ही समाप्त करता हूँ. नवाजी जी बहुत अच्छा. हमने तो ये हमेशा कहा है, दूध मांगोगे तो खीर देंगे, कश्मीर मांगोगे तो चीर देंगे. यही स्टैंड है हमारा. भूलिएगा मत. अब इस स्टैंड के साथ नहीं है.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I only want to ask one question. The question tonight is only this: when the blood of Indians, and I don't care what religion they belong to, when the blood of Indians is flowing because of terror that continues to go, it has reduced 34% lesser than before. It has reduced, but still continues to somehow disturb the peace in Jammu and Kashmir. There are leaders who have enjoyed power and all the gravy that comes with it, but will not even appeal to Pakistan to establish peace in India, in Kashmir. But they will continue to pressurize the government of India to start a conversation with Pakistan. I want to ask you, what is your vested interest in Pakistan? Can you answer the people of India? We leave it at that. Thank you very much to all my panelists for joining me on the big debate. On the other side, ladies and gentlemen, errors happen in every newsroom. But admitting to those errors, maintaining transparency and not hiding the truth is the responsibility of a news organization. But unlike Times Now, not all news organizations seem to be practicing this. Take the example of The Wire magazine, which first admitted to playing a story based on fake information and then unabashedly went on to defend it as well. It was only after tremendous pressure the digital portal apologized for a series of stories it ran on Meta, the company that owns Facebook and Instagram. The Wire had published that on instructions from the BJP IT cell head Amit Malviya, an Instagram post was taken down by Instagram within minutes. It also claimed that it had a subsequent email from Meta's Andy Stone where he was livid at the leaked report that said, "How the hell did this get out?" Clearly showing that Wire had such great access into email accounts of Facebook and Meta. But in reality, this email address did not even exist. The Wire then posted a video to back its claim, but that video proved to be fake as well. Now the independent experts, The Wire, had claimed that they authenticated their fake video with have also called out The Wire's fakery. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, one of the experts told Times Now that despite his denials, The Wire published the report saying he didn't wish to be named, but the truth is that he didn't validate the report. The Wire now says that it has been deceived by a member of its Meta reporting team. That's all. So this was just a mistake according to The Wire. What about those fabricated stories? What about the due diligence? What about the editorial concerns that they should have had? What about lying about those experts who clearly said that they didn't even want to participate, and despite that The Wire published these stories? The BJP has now gone on the offensive, and BJP IT cell head Amit Malviya has said that he will initiate a criminal and a civil suit as well against The Wire. We've also spoken to the editor of Wire, but let me go across to my colleague Siddharth Talia joining me on this story. Siddharth, just how did this happen? You know, one fakery over another, one lie after another. Does that really give away the journalism model followed by The Wire?
Well, this is, what many people call, Navika, an elaborate hoax. Now, The Wire has continued to defend the manner in which it approached the story, at least in its initial stages, but then, of course, had to retract all these stories and then issue an apology. And there are layers and layers, Navika, of alleged fabrications here. It almost appears as if to cover up one alleged fabrication, you came out with another. At least that's the allegation against The Wire in this specific case. So what did The Wire claim, and how was its alleged fakery actually called out? Let's go through some of those claims as well as counterclaims here. First and foremost, The Wire claimed that there was an internal report that has been managed to that they managed to access from Instagram's internal portal, which they claim showed how Amit Malviya, the head of the BJP IT cell, had Instagram posts that were critical or satirical in their take on the government actually taken down. Now, what did actually happen and what was eventually exposed? This internal report that The Wire had actually claimed was authentic turns out to be a fabrication as well. So that's the one layer of fakery that we're talking about. Then they refer to an email that was sent by a Meta spokesperson, Andy Stone, to his own colleagues, where he is absolutely livid at the fact that this internal report has gotten out, and he says, how the hell did this leak actually happen? At least that's the quote that's been attributed to Andy Stone in that specific email. That email to Navika turns out to be fake. That Andy Stone's email was actually fake is something that was eventually established once again, where The Wire actually failed to authenticate it. Then Wire comes out with another article where they say that we've gone through an internal process where we've managed to authenticate Andy Stone's original email. They also say that the source from Meta has managed to access the internal report by logging into Instagram's internal server. They come out with that video as well. Both those videos are now being proven, at least by several social media experts as well as independent experts who The Wire claimed had been contacted contacted to validate this authentication process. They've also said we were never contacted, and these mails and this authentication process too has now been alleged to be fake. So that's the third layer of alleged fakery. The final one, of course, is where they claim that independent experts that they'd gotten in touch with had authenticated via process of validating these emails as well, and that too turns out to be fake, because both these experts have now come out in the public domain, Navika, and say that they were never contacted, that they never were part of this entire reportage process that the Wire had initiated against Meta. So layer upon layer, like we discussed earlier, of alleged fakery that now stands exposed.
Fall through and the real story comes out, and now the Wire has put out a statement, and the Wire statement pins blame on the expert. They absolve themselves from the fakery. That's the big breaking news. They also say that they were given fraudulent information, and after fakery they are now playing the victim card. They suspect an outside hand to target Wire and discredit them in this attempt, because Wire is such a free and independent news organization. Well, what can I say? Thank you, Siddharth, for that update, and let me get in the Poonawalla brothers, Shehzad versus Tehseen. And Shehzad, victim card. There is a foreign hand which is trying to expose the Wire. That's what they say. And 4 layers of due diligence. They say the information was fraudulent. Now, isn't it the job of journalists to check on information and decide whether it's fraudulent or not before they put it in public domain? Or is it something that dawns upon them later?
Ironically, Navika, after 2014, those who have become self-styled watchdogs and who are labeling others as Godi media, etc., they are nothing but corrupt lapdogs of a particular ecosystem, and now they are blaming somebody XYZ, but there is a history sheet of this haywire caravan of lies. And let me just tell you the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks what they have done. Tech Fox story against BJP, so-called BJP's hate machine, fake, they have deleted the story. Story on Amit Malviya ji and Instagram, fake, retracted the story. Story on Pegasus, Supreme Court junked it into a dustbin. Story on Nobel Peace Prize for 2 so-called fact checkers, false. Story on blaming Mahakumbh and Hindus for corona spread at a time when the Kerala model was the one responsible, now completely exposed. The Kerala model is still in tatters. And see, these people take money from the public and they make judgments on other media houses. There are 2 or 3 things I want to add. This is a calculated, malicious disinformation campaign that they have been running. 2, where are the so-called non-working editors in this editors guild? Because all of them are non-working. Smita Prakash just said it on Times Now. Most of them are not in editorial position, but they are part of editors guild. Aaj kidhar hai ye sare log? Ha, if it would have been some other network, they would have been standing and patronizingly telling them. And 3rd, Amit Malviya ji, the reason why they have targeted him. Amit Malviya, I have spoken to him many times about this. He said that he doesn't mind these, ragtag organizations targeting him, but they want to defame India. They want to target a nationalist, and therefore they made Amit Malviya the target, so that if a message is sent out that this is how we can target somebody like Amit Malviya, all the nationalists who stand up for India and stand up against Bharat Badnami Brigade, they would be intimidated. Today, I thank Amit Malviya for taking this step, because only somebody who has a courage of conviction for standing up for Ma Bharati can take this step.
Well, Tehseen Poonawalla, my question is, mistakes can happen. Any journalism expert can tell you that mistakes happen in a newsroom, but there are some bona fide mistakes which happen due to an oversight, and you admit to them, because especially on a television channel, there is news every second that comes in, and sometimes you might make a mistake. The question here is that these same organizations have a roaring time having opinion about other people. I want to ask you, they have an opinion about anybody, and everybody's journalism is yellow journalism except their own, but when it comes to them, they play the victim card. And my question is not about an oversight. An oversight can be seen as one. In this case, email addresses are concocted, experts who have never been contacted, experts who have never said anything on an issue have been quoted, and certificates got from them, and videos which don't exist have been tried to be put out to take a stand. It is only after 4 layers of this defense collapses that they finally come out and says, bhai, you know, we can't carry this too far, and then they come out and say there is an external hand which is trying to do this to defame them. How does that sound to you?
The government of liars, which is today after the wire, the proponents of Deen Dayal Upadhyay WhatsApp University are today shocked that somebody's made a bona fide mistake. Big mistake.
No, this is not a bona fide. That's why I asked you. If it was a bona fide mistake, my friend, I was the last person who would quibble about it. But this is not a bona fide mistake. 4 layers. Wrongly quoting experts only to hide your own tracks and your own fraud and fakery. Tehseen, is that bona fide? Is that...
They have apologized. They have said that they're going to have better surveillance. They have said that they are ready to face legal action, whatever it is. And Mr. Malviya is free to go to court or wherever he does deem fit to whatever authority. But the fact of the matter is somebody stood up and owned up to a mistake that they made. Bona fide or mala fide, the courts will now decide as Mr. Malviya has gone. But the fact is, those who are experts in Deen Dayal Upadhyay WhatsApp University, the debate before this, the Honorable Law Minister was spreading some new history that is being created.
But the same people have dragged these people to court,
it is almost like the devil's preaching the scriptures. The devil out here, the government preaching the scriptures. Please tell the BJP to stay out of it.
That's the unkindest of cuts, especially when you made a mistake, you could actually be a little humble about it, and now they say that it's actually
जिनकी फितरत न्यूज लॉन्डरिंग की होती है ना, न्यूज लॉन्डरिंग, आप समझ गए ना, ये न्यूज लॉन्डरिंग वाले ना ये वर्च्यू आउट ऑफ अ नेसेसिटी भी करते हैं. मींस लुक, दे इलेक्शन हारते तो मॉरल विक्ट्री, और यहाँ पर पकड़े गए चोरी चुप्पे जो कांड कर रहे थे तो सॉरी बोल दिया, बोनाफाइड मिस्टेक थी. अरे बोनाफाइड मिस्टेक इतनी लंबी संख्या, एक 9 PM का एंकर है, सॉरी टू से इट, रबिश रिपोर्ट दिखाता है, वहां पर शाहरुख अनुराग बन जाता है, और ये भी बोनाफाइड मिस्टेक होता है. और ऐसा मिस्टेक मान लीजिए कि कोई टाइम्स नाउ चैनल कर लेता और अनुराग को शाहरुख बता देता, तो क्या होता है सिस्टम में. मैं तो सिर्फ इतना कहता हूं, तहसीन पुनावाला, बोनाफाइड मिस्टेक जो भी मिस्टेक है, आज जो एडिटर्स गिल्ड कहां है आपका? एडिटर्स गिल्ड तो बड़ा एक्टिव रहता है.
deep slumber sometimes, because it happens in winters. Hibernation is the way to go. That's what probably the editors guild is in. Hibernation. Let's leave it at that. Thank you very much, Tehseen and Shehzad, for joining me on the News Hour. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being with me. Thanks for watching the News Hour at 9. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, same channel, and the same show, the News Hour at 9. Good night.
You were watching the News Hour at 9. Stay tuned. Newshour at 9.
President Draupadi Murmu inspected the parade at Rashtrapati Bhavan in Delhi to present silver trumpet and trumpet banner to the President's bodyguard at a ceremony at the Bhavan forecourt. Union Home Minister Amit Shah chaired Chintan Shiva or the brainstorming session on internal security, which was attended by Chief Ministers of 8 states and Home Ministers of 16 states in Faridabad. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh attended the Shaurya Divas program in Budgam. During the event, he paid respect to brave hearts and said Pakistan will have to face consequences for atrocities against the people in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Army establishments across the country celebrated the 76th Infantry Day to pay homage to the soldiers who fought for the country and laid down their lives in the line of duty. After a gap of 3 days, the Congress Bharat Jodo Yatra led by Rahul Gandhi resumed from Maktal in Telangana, marking the 50th day of the Yatra.
You were watching the News Hour at 9. Stay tuned.
The most pressing issues, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shivshankar.
आपको सब फिल्म स्टार ही चाहिए मथुरा में।
नहीं हेमामान
कन्हैया जी ने भक्त चाहिए कल रात की सावन का देंगे ऑल्सो बिकम सांसद बनना चाहेंगे उसको तो आप बनने नहीं देंगे आप दिमाग में सबको ऐसा डाल के रखेंगे फिल्म स्टार ही बनेगा आपको सब फिल्म स्टार ही चाहिए मथुरा में
नहीं हेमामान
कन्हैया जी ने भक्त चाहिए कल रात की सावन का देंगे ऑल्सो बिकम बहुत अच्छी बात है
आपका क्या विचार है इस बार आप
Good evening and welcome. You are watching the Newshour Agenda, India's most loved primetime show at 10. I'm Padmaja Joshi. Today The Wire has apologized for a series of stories it ran on Meta, the company that owns Facebook and Instagram. The source of this entire controversy was an allegation made by Wire that Instagram took down a post within minutes on the instructions of Amit Malviya, the head of the BJP's IT cell. Now this accusation at the outset was challenged by Meta, but Wire brazened it out, even claiming that Meta's responses reeked of a cover-up. But the truth has a way of coming out, and boy did it come out. So here is what we know about the affair Wire. And please bear with me because you need to understand how labored this entire process was and how painstaking the effort to cover one lie with another. So here is the timeline. On the 6th of October, The Wire first published a report that a post lampooning Yogi Adityanath was taken down within a few minutes. On the 10th of October, it followed up with another story saying that that spoof on Yogi Adityanath was taken down at the instance of Amit Malviya, apparently because of some special powers he has. And every request he makes is fulfilled. And thanks to that power, he has had multiple posts removed. Wire said that they know this because of an internal report of Meta that they have accessed. On the 11th of October, Meta's communication head, Andy Stone, said that the documents the Wire had presented were all fabricated. So the same day, Wire published another report. What did this report say? This report said that after our story came out,
outing Mehta, outing Amit Malviya, and outing the nexus between the two of them, an internal mail was sent. This internal mail was sent by Andy Stone, and here he was fuming, saying, how the hell did the document leak? So here's the thing. Now we know that that internal report was fake. That email asking how the hell did it leak was fake. Wire was called out and told in no uncertain terms on the 11th of October itself that these reports, these correspondence are fake. Yet they continued. They claimed that all of this was genuine. They built layer upon layer of lies. 5 layers of lies to cover one original lie. How? So next, Wire then claimed after this purported internal email, then Wire said that we have a video where meta emails have been authenticated through the DKIM method. That video also fake. Then they went a step further and said we have email verification from 2 experts who claim that our reports are authentic. And even those experts, even though the experts exist, that verification was fake. These experts did no such verification. One of them wasn't even contacted and both of their emails were forged. Which brings us down to this. Why go to such pains to cover up one lie? It could have been a mistake. You did not do due diligence, your reporter misled you, you do an internal check and you course correct. But they went on to create 5 levels of lie. Why? Remember, on the 10th itself, Meta said clearly, this email address that you are bandying about doesn't exist. It is forged. Experts wrote to the Wire and said, I haven't even been contacted. How are you quoting me as a verifying source? Yet Wire brazened it out. And today, when they have been dragged to court by the BJP IT cell chief Amit Malviya, they are calling it a malintent to discredit. But is it really?
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Alright, joining us on the debate, Sanju Verma, national spokesperson of the BJP, Ratan Sharda author, Anirban Banerjee, Ravi Srivastav, both political analysts. My first question though is to Syed Aslam Pasha, spokesperson of the JDS. Mr. Syed Aslam Pasha, I want to start with the latest statement that has been released by Wire, and it starts by saying journalists rely on sources for stories and do their best to verify material that they receive. Let's begin at the beginning, as has been famously said. When Wire is claiming that they do their best to verify material that they receive, can you please tell me as a sympathizer, what was done by the Wire to verify the material that they received? Because so far nobody has the answer to that. What was the verification? The real one, I mean, not the faked one.
So, Padmaja, first of all, to say, definitely, there is definitely a deception by a member, which Wire has clearly said. There is a deception by the member of Meta investigation team, wherein they have categorically apologized and accepted that it's a mistake from their end. Before publishing any article, definitely due diligence has to be done, like you rightly said. And
so
also, there is a proper...
Today, here's the thing. Today on the 27th of October, they are saying we were deceived by a member of our investigation team. On the 13th of October, Times Now wrote to the Wire and we asked them, are you sure this is not a part of a fishing expedition? We asked them exactly this, that things are not adding up. Meta is saying that your email addresses you're showing are fake. I want to show you what Mr. Siddharth Vardarajan said in reply to our question. He said, we are willing to stand by our story. We will not retract even if we are subjected to any kind of legal action. We have done our due diligence. So let me again ask you, what was done to verify the story? Because on the 13th when we said, are you sure? They said absolutely yes. What was done?
No, so Padmaja, like I said already, when the organization like Wire has already apologized, saying that there is no proper due diligence done, I don't want to go back to what happened on 13th. I want to quote what happened on 27, in which they are apologizing and they are also saying.
So basically, you're saying that an entire report where you said that the government of our country is influencing social media giants, basically behaving like some kind of, Stalinist Soviet era regime, was based on because one reporter came to me and said, "Sir, ये तो बहुत गड़बड़ हो रही है," and I said, "क्या बात कर रहे हो?" And then I published it.
No, so there is a failure in the due diligence, and they need to understand the technical aspects of what is being published, and if the investigation has failed, it is definitely right.
So are we saying that then
I am saying.
So are we saying that the company that regularly pontificates on how the standard of media is falling in the country did not do due diligence and published fake news? Is that what we are saying?
There are editorial blunders which have happened in the past, and let's not forget how the News Broadcasting and Digital Standards Authority has pulled up multiple organizations.
Sure they have.
Be it in the print
sure
media,
they have, including us.
Print media,
including us. And here's the thing.
Media.
We have accepted mistakes happen and mistakes were made. But to sit on a high horse and say you guys are rolling around in filth and we are the paragons. So let me just ask you again, are we at the very least saying that this was a piece of fake news that was perpetuated, or worse, this was malified? Which one of the two are you agreeing with?
I wouldn't call it as a fake news. I would call it as a misjudgment and the failure of investigation before publishing such news. Now I see that Sanju Vermaji is going up and high today. She can't take the moral high ground when her the head of the IT cell, there are thousands and a galore of misinformation which is done to discredit.
Let's take this one by one. First of all, this is not such a big deal. It is just an editorial blunder. Sanju Verma, editorial blunder, and they've apologized.
Padmaja, I did not heckle this man. I refuse to speak if he continues like this.
Okay, go on.
Thank you. Padmaja, prior to Diwali, we've seen advertisements saying Diwali Dhamaka sale. Christmas ke pehle bhi, there are advertisements saying, Christmas bonanza. And I think wire is for hire. It basically sells itself. And I'm not going to be polite or subtle today or be nuanced. Not that being subtle is one of my virtues. Wire basically tries and ingratiates itself to the highest bidder, and I'll tell you why. Look at the Vault Fast by Siddharth Vardarajan. You put out the timeline of events and taking a cue from what you said very quickly. Immediately on the 10th and 11th of October, when the Wire said that Amit Malviya has undue privilege to take down Instagram posts, and post that there were whistleblowers like Sophie Zhang, who was once a Meta employee, and Yuyutsu Ho, who's also a whistleblower and once upon a time a Meta employee. What did Siddharth Vardarajan say, or what did Danke ki chot par? He said stories came from multiple Meta sources, whom we know have met and verified. This is the whole and soul, the owner of Wire saying we had the story from multiple verified sources of Meta. Look at the impunity, look at the brazen audacity. किस हद तक झूठ बोलते हैं और कितनी बेशर्मी से झूठ बोलते हैं. But when eventually Andy Stone of Meta, who is the communications director, and Guy Rosen, who's their chief security information officer, said that Amit Malviya has no undue privilege to take down any post on Instagram, and once they had themselves and their backs to the wall, what did Siddharth Vardarajan say? He issued an apology and said, to have rushed to publish a story we believe was reliable without having the associated technical evidence vetted independently is a failure of which we cannot permit repetition. You apologize, Mr. Vardarajan. You apologize to your viewers. Did you apologize to Amit Malviya, whom you tried to malign? No. Did you apologize to the BJP, given that Amit Malviya heads the IT cell of BJP? No. Did you apologize to the government because you take pot shots and liberties with the government at the drop of a hat under the garb of freedom of expression? No. And I'm so happy that Amit Malviya has decided to initiate civil and criminal proceedings, and he wants to ensure that damages.
So the charge is that this was a deliberate attempt to mislead in order to tarnish a party, a man and a government. Syed Aslam Pasha.
Okay. No, Padmaja, Amit Malviya ji has all the right to, to take a legal proceeding against the organization. That is definitely his wish, and he can go ahead and do it. I just want to ask Sanju Verma ji, who is literally, shouting loud about apology. There are hundreds of tweets.
Like you were talking, I'm not shouting.
There are hundreds of tweets. There are hundreds of tweets. There are hundreds of tweets and a galore of tweets and misinformation which is spread to discredit the individual communities and the political parties and the opposition leaders. There are hundreds of tweets like this. Has Amit Malviya ji apologized even once? His tweets are retweeted more than lakhs of times.
Response, Sanju
Verma.
You take Amit Malviya to the court if you think your allegations have any bona fide basis. But to sit on Times Now and give a lecture to the BJP on the day the wire has been exposed for the yellow journalism and sensationalism that it perpetuates.
I can give you a list
it's too rich coming from you.
100 tweets. I can give you a list of 100 tweets.
Fake news, it's very rich coming from you. Syed Pasha.
100.
If such tweets are there, Mr. Pasha, there must be cases about it, because eventually that's how these matters should be settled. They should be settled in court. That being said, let me bring in Mr. Ravi Srivastava. Let's talk about the facts at hand today, sir. Mr. Ravi Srivastava, now on the 11th of October, Guy Rosen, who is the Chief Information Security Officer at Meta, said, and I quote, in its October 10 story, The Wire links to a supposed internal report about the incident in question. There is no such report. The URL is not in use. The Wire cites a supposed email. The email is a fake. The Wire talks about, there is no such email. The Wire makes reference to an internal watch list. There is no such watch list. Mind you, on the 10th, Guy Rosen still gave a fig leaf to the Wire and said, let's hope the Wire is the victim and not the perpetrator. What were the course correction done by the Wire at that point? What was done?
See, I think Wire in this case, instead of journalism, adopted to some kind of an activism. And that is how the things went so far, that on 5 incidents they denied, and then finally they had to apologize and withdraw the even tech fog report, which was in the media for a very long time.
Sir, they didn't deny.
So
they fabricated. For example, if I want to ask you, Mr. Srivastava, what is the color of the sky? And you say, I can't tell. So I basically make up an email address and I say, Mr. Ravi Srivastava told me the sky is black. That is what they did.
Let somebody even verify those URLs also from the email was sent.
Sir, Wire itself has admitted. Wire itself has admitted there is nothing left to verify.
Seems to be some deep-rooted conspiracy behind it.
By who?
But I have.
By who?
I have. No.
By their own reporter.
Let's come out of it. Let's come out of
it.
Government was maligned in this. What government was maligned when the Supreme Court
government can leave alone the government.
BJP government.
My concern is not the government or the party or an individual. Mind you, these reports are about India, about the state of affairs in India, and that matters, because when India is downgraded on the Freedom Index, it affects everyone, not just the government of India.
I say there was fire, there was spark, there was everything. The only thing is, okay, if this fellow has erred, he has apologized, let's settle over it, and the matter has gone to court, something more will come out.
Sir, I am asking you a simple question. My question to you is, when you talk about a deep-rooted conspiracy, a conspiracy by who? Whose conspiracy is it?
When there is an investigation probe, then only it will be found out.
अरे आप डिपेंड कर रहे हैं ना, आप बताइए,
Not a state.
आप बताइए ना, आपकी थ्योरी सुनते हैं, आपको भी नोबेल प्राइज मिलना चाहिए.
I don't need it. Meta has got several reasons. Meta has done it in several countries. Meta is no saint.
Meta is no saint. But in this case, whose conspiracy is it? And if you already knew that your story is fake, you still went ahead and you built another lie to cover up this lie. Which is why one asks, was it a mistake, Ratan Sharda, or was there a different intent?
What you are trying to attribute is incorrect.
I am not attributing, sir.
Attribute.
Here are the facts of the case. I have laid out the facts of the case.
Maligning the country.
You have not, sir. I have just laid out the facts of the case. The facts of the case are: you printed a report. You said the ruling party is bulldozing social media companies. You were called out. You faked another email. Then you faked another report. Then you faked two experts. My question is, why did you do this? Were they just trying, maybe Ratan Sharda, to cover up their mistake? It was embarrassing. They had been called out. They said, let us now just sort of paper this over.
See, I am actually really surprised this evening. I see opposition defending the wire for no reason I understand. If they believe in freedom of press, if they believe in good journalism, they should condemn whatever is wrong. Does it affect anybody? Is it against a party? It is against India. It is the kind of regular fake news factory that we see. And this apology, has he apologized to the victim? Has Varadarajan apologized to Mr. Amit Malvi or the BJP whom he targeted? He hasn't.
Why should
He's
he?
in fact glorified himself by saying that they have highest standards of reporting. But they went on defending the same story for weeks together. And is the first report? No, there was TechFog. TechFog story which showed that BJP had some outstanding software which could stop anybody from saying anything, which could multiply whatever they wanted to multiply or broadcast. A superhuman software which only Amit Malviya had. That story also is pulled down. Their ecosystem is that Wikipedia has pulled down the report to all the references to the wire story. So this is the kind of ecosystem we're talking about. Very serious issue. And are we talking of somebody making a mistake once? I gave example of TechFog and I gave example. You have given example of the brazenness of this particular case. I will give just two more examples. In the Republic Day parade riots in Delhi, one farmer was killed because his tractor overturned when he tried to attack police. The wire released a news saying that he was killed by a police bullet. The autopsy says he was not killed by a police bullet. He doesn't apologize. He doesn't take away the report. He says that it is a
such errors happen every day. Such errors happen every day. There is nothing new in it. But don't try to blame wire for this. This happens everywhere. Are you aware that yesterday only one top?
Mr. Srivastava, it's very easy for you to sit in your house and say that such errors happen everywhere. One, you would not see such charitable views extended towards everyone. And second, you do realize that in a charged atmosphere, that report could have resulted in riots. Because there were members of that mob who were still in Delhi and they were being told that the police had shot dead a guy.
Another example is Supreme Court gave order the wire to take down
Everybody knows it.
आप बकवास बंद करेंगे, बात करने देंगे मुझे.
One at a time.
मैंने टोका. आपको टोका मैंने.
Okay.
आपको टोका मैंने.
Okay, Mr. Srivastava, please, I will give you time to respond. Let him finish. Let Mr. Sharda finish. Yes.
For example, just listen. The courts ordered wire to take down 14 articles which were defaming the Bharat Biotech and Covaxin, and they said no more publishing of any such reports. Against what was these reports? So you published 14 reports which the court says take down. It says no more reports. This is the kind of journalism we are fighting about. It's not journalism. It is activism which is multiplied by the foreign media. Stories are picked up.
So are you saying that this was done deliberately? What was the intent?
You see the history. You see the history. They defended this particular case for long. They took down TechFog quietly. They defamed Covaxin. They tried their best to defame Bharat Biotech. They created a story which could create a riot in Delhi. What does all this show?
Okay, so the intent was very specific to try and create unrest in the country, Anirban Banerjee. So claims Ratan Sharda.
create distrust in the people, distrust about the government, about the nation, and give international
will go after the wire
media.
After
Yes, go on. To create distrust.
Sir, can you now
and
please
unrest.
keep silent?
Mr. Banerjee, yes.
So it's no wonder that the right-wing ecosystem will go after the wire, even after they have admitted that there was a mistake on their part, that they are very willing to rectify.
No, sir.
There's a difference between
a mistake is once.
and
If it happens
intentional
5
spreading of
times,
fake
it's a
news or
fabrication.
propaganda-style news.
How can you make mistake 5 times? You are actively fabricating evidence. You are literally fabricating identities of people. How is that a mistake? You want to know about a mistake? Let me actually quote to you, sir, that an expert who was quoted by The Wire in one of their reports says this. The expert says a fake email and my persona were used to suggest that I am the person who did it. I confirm that a fake email was used to impersonate me. I do not use this email. This was impersonation, sir. Impersonation is a crime. It's not a mistake.
Yeah, fine. If impersonation is a crime, what do you call spreading of news that don't even exist? Are they a crime? There have been multiple occasions of spreading of simple fake news or propaganda style news by the right-wing ecosystem.
You can keep doing what about me?
I don't really want to call them journalists.
What is the mistake that you are
apologizing for? Of course, this is a what about fee.
No, I am asking you only and only about this case.
I am not apologizing
What
for
is the
anything.
mistake that the apology has come from? This is not a mistake. It is a fabrication.
You might want to call it a fabrication.
It is a fabrication. You want to get further examples of fabrication? Expert number 2. Expert number 2 says, I have not even been approached by The Wire to make any verification before publication of The Wire's report dated 15 October. The man they quoted, they did not even approach him, Ujjwal Kumar, and they used his name to publish a report. Then Ujjwal Kumar called up The Wire. Despite his denial, The Wire modified its story to falsely claim that he had issued an email confirming validation. The Wire's process is, I do not wish for the article to continue to carry my name. First, they did not approach him. When he clarified that you are misusing my name, they continued to use his name and just said, oh, he's asked for his identity to be protected. This is misleading. It is fabrication, Mr. Banerjee. How is an apology enough?
I do not know if apology is enough for some person or not, but since they have admitted to their mistake, they at least have the spine to do so.
It is not a mistake, sir. I am trying to explain to you how this is an active forgery and fabrication. A mistake is if you make a typo, if you mistake a message as genuine. When you do it 5 times, it is dhokadhadi. It is known as fraud. It is not a mistake. When you impersonate people's identities, when you create fake emails, when you quote people without even approaching them.
Yeah, when you're using terms like fraud, forgery, etc., the important part is the mens rea, or the criminal intent behind it. In this case, what was the criminal intent? The Wire is not part of the propaganda spreading system in our country.
Really?
In the name of journalism, there is an entire ecosystem who simply work at the behest of the fascists to spread propaganda and fake news. They have done it over and over again, and not for once
what was the
have any of them
there is no intent,
said that this was
proven it was a mistake. Ratan Sharda.
These news it was taken to the world. India's democratic ranking was lowered. And it was spread that India has no democracy, it's a fascist state, it has no freedom. That starts from tech fog, and earlier it wanted to prove that the vaccines being produced by India, the low quality. It wanted to prove when police didn't take any action against the farmers in the Red Fort area. It was sought to be proved that police were violently killing the agitators. Is this not hurt on the very reputation of India? You think it is only a political story? You think it's a political story against BJP or is it against India?
We
compromise on India's dignity, India's standing in the world.
Respond.
That is the problem.
Sir, Yeah. So regarding reputation of India, please tell me who fabricated the story that the BJP actually let free the rapists, the gang rapists and mass murderers of Bilkis Bano. Was that a fabricated story? Was that something that got our reputation as a country very high in international quarters? It is the BJP that has got the reputation of our country down into the gutters.
Does it always have to be about obfuscation? One does not excuse the other. Let me ask you this, that today in their final statement, Sanju Verma, the Wire has said, and I quote, the Wire has said, and I quote, whether the person who brought all the material to the Wire deceived us at anyone else's behest or acted on his own is a matter that will be subject to judicial process in due course. The malintent to discredit the Wire is obvious. Are you using the opportunity to discredit with malintent?
I have been listening patiently. I want to make one thing very clear, that, let us not try and make little of the expose on the Wire. This is not a mistake. It is not an oversight. There's nothing genuine about it, because people have been saying, "Arey, genuine mistake hai, inko maaf kar dijiye." This is forgery. This is trying to malign the BJP with malafide intent. So, Mr. Banerjee was talking about mens rea. Mens rea talks about criminal motive, which is very much evident here, because right from the insurrection at the Republic Day to the farm protest to trying to undermine the Modi government's largest vaccination drive by spreading gibberish about Covaxin, the Wire should change its name to We Are on Hire, because they've spared no opportunity to undermine the bona fide efforts of the Modi government on various fronts. But one thing which people should remember is, it is not just about the Wire. It is not just about Wikipedia, which has completely removed various pages relating to the Wire versus Meta fiasco, saying now they are waiting for more bona fide stuff to come out. Jab tak allegations were against Amit Malviya, Wikipedia had the entire story. The moment the tables were turned and it was known that the Wire is the perpetrator spreading fake news, Wikipedia has very conveniently removed large chunks of the so-called news under the garb of conducting an investigation. My limited point is this, Padmaja, it is not just the Wire, there is an entire ecosystem. Don't forget, there is the Caravan's political editor Hartosh Singh Badal, Hartosh Singh Bal, who said, if this is not about the BJP or Adityanath or Amit Malviya, if this is not about Meta no towing to the power in India, they could have at least begun their clarifications by first putting the image of Adityanath back up. Basically, Hartosh Bal thought that the satirical post on Adityanath was removed thanks to intervention by the BJP, and the Wire is doing a great job by talking truth to power. It is not talking truth to power, it is a simple case of impersonation and forgery that needs to be dealt with under the sections of IPC.
So finally this case has gone to court. All we can say is that can be the only logical conclusion. You say there's an entire ecosystem working against you, but in a free democracy there will be all voices, and all voices must be as strong and as free as they exist in this very chaotic democracy of ours. That being said, if there is any effort to try and forge, especially with malintent, that equally will get called out. Thanks very much, all gentlemen. Sanju Verma for joining me. On Jammu and Kashmir Accession Day, Union Law Minister Kiren Rijiju took another dig at India's first Prime Minister Jawahar Lal Nehru and pointed out his 5 alleged blunders with respect to J&K policy. Rijiju claimed that a historic lie was perpetrated for the past 7 decades, that Kashmir was also among the princely states that didn't want to merge with India after freedom. Citing historical records, the minister claimed that Maharaja Hari Singh had actually requested Nehru for Kashmir's accession to India a month before partition. This naturally led to another firestorm of allegations and counter-allegations between the two parties.
Today, Kashmir has unnecessarily become an issue, a disputed issue, which is not. It is integral part of India. So that is why it is very important that we take out the fault and build on that and set a correct narratives. So that is why what blunders committed by Pandit Nehru ji has been corrected, has been undone by Modi ji.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Let me take this across to our panel. Sanju Verma continues with us. Ahmad Ayaz, political analyst, also joins us along with leader of the Congress, Deepika Rajawat, who will be with us in just a bit. But Gautam Sen, I want to ask you first. You're an author and retired academician from the London School of Economics. It's been a long-standing debate. Where do you stand on this? Because the Congress today said this is nothing more than falsehoods and BJP propaganda.
You know, there were significant political mistakes made. For example, Nehru's hostility towards Maharaja Hari Singh and the way he used Sheikh Abdullah to undermine him. For example, having his Prime Minister dragged through the street with a rope around his waist. So all of this created a lot of bad blood. It was a very delicate situation in which sensitive handling was required, and in this Nehru failed because he had this project in which he thought the oppressed people of Kashmir must be rescued for the Maharaja. This was his kind of long-term vision. And in so doing, he failed to understand that there was a huge conspiracy to make sure Pakistan was part of, Kashmir was part of Pakistan. There was a conspiracy involving London, Mountbatten, the two chiefs of staff in succession. One was Lockhart and the other was Butcher. And they were in touch with their English counterparts in Pakistan. So Nehru failed to understand this conspiracy, and he was looking for this long-term egalitarian response, and he managed to basically foul it up comprehensively.
Deepika Rajawat, your response?
No. Should I?
My very precise and very clear submission on it is, like, even I tried to write something on it. What is making Mr. Rijiju to talk about this issue again and again? Right? What is yielding him? What is the intention? Right? So, what one must bear in mind when we are talking about the Nehruji, we are talking about the first Prime Minister of India. We are talking about the Democrat. We are talking about the secularist. We are talking about a person who shaped India. We are talking about the person who got us freedom. We are talking about the person who got us IITs, AIMS and everything. Right? We are talking about the person who got us economic policies.
But what about Kashmir, ma'am?
And above everything, we are talking about the person. No. 1 second. Let me finish. If you are made me to be on this show today, let me speak. Right? Because you cannot divert and rule. All what Bharatiya Janata Party is doing at this time is diverting and ruling. Right? Diverting people from the core issues that India is facing at this time. Diverting people from the issues that India is reeling under. I want to understand the intention of Mr. Rijiju of talking about this issue again and again.
Okay, so ma'am, just to be clear, are you saying that the issue does not exist, or you're saying that there is no point in raking up the issue now? What is your argument?
One second. No, 1 second. My argument before the nation today is, what is the intention of Law Minister? What is the intention of Law Minister to malign the image of Nehruji?
Okay, what is the intention of the Law Minister?
Trying to divert this country from the core issues.
Okay, what is the intention of the Law Minister in 2022 to talk about 1947? Right. Sanju Verma. What is the intention of the Law Minister?
What is the intention of Law Minister?
Because I did not heckle her. Let her complete first.
When India is facing crisis.
Okay, ma'am, you've asked your question. What is the intention of the Law Minister? First, let's clear the intention.
Right.
Sanju Verma, what is the intention?
Yeah, what is the intention?
Okay, I've asked your question. Sanju Verma.
What is making him?
Miss Rajawat, we heard you. Don't go on and on and on. Now let me speak. I'm not here to listen to your monologue. Thank you. You know, Padmaja, let me be very honest. Kiran Rijiju, as a freewheeling citizen, more so as the law minister, has every right to speak his mind, has every right to bring to the fore. Padmaja, I refuse to debate like this because she continues on and on. I refuse to speak.
On the show.
This is not, Padmaja, did I heckle her? You have to moderate the debate.
This is humiliation.
You can have her on the show. Let her continue to shout. I will stop.
Ma'am, the other panelists treat me with dignity. And depends on you.
What kind of a woman is this?
Okay, just a second, please. Can we please have both the faders down? Ma'am, you have said your bit. Now you are being responded to. Your question, Ms. Rajawat, is why bring it up right now? Please answer that specific question, Sanju Verma. Why talk about 1947 in 2022? Sanju Verma.
And now let me say, it is even more important to talk in 2022 about 1947 because today is the day that Nehru on 27th October 1947, 75 years back, that when pushed to the wall, when Pakistan was knocking on the gates of Srinagar, that Nehru left with no choice, actually accepted the instrument of accession. In his own speech on 24th July 1952 on the floor of the parliament, Nehru has admitted, point number one, he refused to accept the instrument of accession which Maharaja Hari Singh was willing to sign way back in July 1947. Then again, Maharaja Hari Singh came to him on 20th October 1947. Tab bhi Nehru ji ne mana kar diya. And do you know what? On 21st October 1947, Nehru had the audacity to write to the then Prime Minister of Pakistan, MC Mahajan, saying it is not the appropriate time now to allow the accession of Kashmir to India, and then Nehru had the audacity to write another letter to MC Mahajan on 26th October 1947 saying, if indeed we have to be pushed to accepting the instrument accession, let there only be a provisional government in Kashmir. So Nehru vacillated till the very end.
So vacillated on accession. Vacillated on accession. And there can be questions on the history and historical mistakes. And on today's occasion that has been raised, Ms. Rajawat. Do you agree that he vacillated on accession, Ms. Rajawat? Panditji.
No, come again please.
Did Nehruji vacillate on accession?
Yeah, hello? No, definitely.
Padmaja, can I take 10 seconds to make my point?
He was a person who believed in democracy. No, 1 second. No, he was a person. He was a person who was a secularist. He was a person who was a social democrat. It is because of Nehruji Kashmir is with us today. Right? It is because of Nehruji Kashmir is with us today. It is because of Nehruji. Kashmir is the integral part of India. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
I'm asking you a simple historical fact.
Party has nothing.
Did the Prime Minister...
That malign the image of Nehruji. That the malign the image of Nehruji.
Okay, Ahmad Kashmiri, what do you have to say to this? Did Nehruji vacillate on accession or not?
No, 1 second.
No, see, basic thing is you all have to accept that India in Kashmir
circumstances India was reeling under
Pakistan or India. It was wait a bit, it was neither the Maharaja was in a position to accede to India. He himself was confused. He even after partition also. It was only after the Pakistan tribals invaded Kashmir, he had to seek the military help from the India, and the Nehruji agreed to his request only on a condition once he accedes to India, once DNK accedes to India. So there were compelling reasons for both Maharaja as well as for the Maharaja as well as for Panditji, Nehruji. For Maharaja, the circumstances were because he was invaded by Pakistan, and the compelling reasons for the Nehruji was that he did not want to leave Kashmir to Pakistan. He wanted it to be
okay, Gautam Sen, this argument is given again and again. The Prime Minister did not vacillate. It was the Maharaja himself. Gautam Sen.
We need to really look at the larger picture, and I repeat that there was a conspiracy to make sure that Kashmir would be part of Pakistan, in which Lord Mountbatten, his 27-year-old wife Edwina, was giving advice to Nehru. Nehru was very close to Edwina, 58-year-old man listening to a 27-year-old
That would not have
woman.
changed anything. No, let me respond.
They were giving advice. Now, if you look at the history of what happened afterwards, the Indian Army was poised to retake all of Kashmir. If you read the book by L.P. Sen, Brigadier Sen, who was leading the army, in his book called Slender Was the Thread, he says that the officers in Delhi headquarters wanted a stalemate. They did not want the Indian Army to succeed. There was a conspiracy because the British from the very beginning wanted a buffer state called Pakistan, and Kashmir was strategically very important. Had it not been for the success of the Indian Army, that 2/3 which was liberated would not have
I will respond, Padmaja.
Yes, respond, Mr. Ayaz.
Just a brief. You see, whatever conspiracy you talk of, whether it was hatched outside or inside, it would not have changed anything. It was only things changed after the Pakistan tribals raided Kashmir and they reached to Srinagar. Then only it started moving. The Maharaja had to move for seek foreign help, and then the Nehruji came for an accession proposal. Then only he was in a position to help out Kashmir. So whatever conspiracy you are talking about, it would not matter, because conspiracies did not do anything. It was only practically an invasion done by the Pakistani tribals who reached to Srinagar. Had the Nehruji not taken initiative and accepted the conditions...
You are not allowing the BJP to speak. This man is going on and on and on.
Possibly the
respond, Sanju Verma.
Okay, sir, we heard you. Please, sir, we heard you.
Kashmir would have possibly...
Padmaja, this is not fair. You know, I need my time.
Okay, Mr. Ayaz, let Sanju Verma respond now.
Thank you. You know, I think in Kiran Rijiju's scathing piece, I think one of the biggest blunders which nobody is talking about is the fact that he said Nehru allowed the myth to be perpetuated that India deliberately never conducted a plebiscite in Kashmir, and Nehru never openly said that one of the biggest preconditions to a plebiscite was a unilateral, unconditional withdrawal of Pakistani troops by Pakistan, which never happened. But not once did Nehru come in the public domain and said that Pakistan had never completed the preconditions which could have led to a possible plebiscite. So perpetuating a myth, and I think Article 370 and Article 35A, the whole world knows. If you read the likes of Bipin Chandra or K.R. Malkani, Sardar Vallabhbhai, thanks to him, he added those two words, temporary and transitional. Had he not added the words temporary and transitional, it would have been very difficult to get rid of Article 35A and Article 370. Nehru rode roughshod over Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and when Patel did not agree to Article 370, Nehru asked his man,
Ms. Vajawat wants to respond.
Swami Iyengar.
Okay, Ms. Vajawat wants to respond. Ms. Vajawat.
I will respond. I will also respond.
No, what should I respond to? Right? Everyone coming up with a fact and not disclosing the source of that fact is surprising, is ambiguous. Right? If today someone just spoke, said that it is the 75th anniversary of instrument of accession, right? If that is to be discussed, let's discuss about the present circumstances Jammu Kashmir is reeling under. Right? Let's discuss the Kashmiri Pandits. Let's discuss the plight being faced by the Kashmiri Pandits. Let's discuss the targeted killings of Kashmiri Pandits. Right? Let Mr. Rijiju write an article on it. Let Mr. Rijiju come up with a blueprint on the protection and rehabilitation of Kashmiri Pandits.
Ma'am, you are absolutely right that all of that should also be discussed on the limited point of accession
that should be the core issue.
Kashmir to India.
No, one second.
Was there a mistake made according to you or no?
Why are we wasting time in discussing the past?
I challenge you to condemn the genocide of Kashmiri Hindus. Your Congress leaders never condemned the genocide of Kashmiri Hindus. Your Manmohan Singh was giving a jadoo ki jhappi to Yasin Malik in 2006 inside his parliamentary chambers. Manmohan Singh was giving a jadoo ki jhappi to Yasin Malik of JKLF, a known terrorist, in 2006 in his own parliamentary chambers.
Mrs. Jha.
Okay.
Mrs. Jha.
Is Manmohan Singh from the Congress or
Please
not?
acquire it to me.
It's Sanju Verma. It's Sanju Verma who is speaking. All right, I'm out of time, but I think the important thing that you said is, what is the point of discussing what happened in the past? You should discuss what is happening right now, ma'am. The point is that very often the present owes its problems to issues that were created in the past, and I think in the case of Kashmir you will agree that is very much the case that we are facing right now. Anyhow, this is an ongoing debate. We'll keep hearing about it because this is an unresolved issue that has left deep, festering wounds that will be discussed threadbare in the future as well. Thanks very much, both gentlemen, Sanju Verma and Deepika Rajawat, for joining me.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break. Hour at 10.
President Draupadi Murmu inspected the parade at Rashtrapati Bhavan in Delhi to present silver trumpet and trumpet banner to the President's bodyguard at a ceremony at the Bhavan forecourt. Union Home Minister Amit Shah chaired Chintan Shiva, or the brainstorming session on internal security, which was attended by Chief Ministers of 8 states and Home Ministers of 16 states in Faridabad. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh attended the Shaurya Divas program in Budgam. During the event, he paid respect to brave hearts and said Pakistan will have to face consequences for atrocities against the people in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Army establishments across the country celebrated the 76th Infantry Day to pay homage to the soldiers who fought for the country and laid down their lives in the line of duty. After a gap of 3 days, the Congress Bharat Jodo Yatra led by Rahul Gandhi resumed from Maktal in Telangana, marking the 50th day of the Yatra.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break.
The most pressing issues, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse.
You're watching the News Hour at 10.
Shiv Sainiks continued the 4-day protest demanding fair compensations for farmers. Tires were burnt and highways were blocked in Osmanabad. Youth Congress workers staged a protest against Karnataka's poor condition of pothole-ridden roads by lighting diyas. Unilever has recalled famous dry shampoo brands over presence of cancer-causing chemicals in the US. Concerns grow over product availability in India online. Twitter's share will be suspended from trading tomorrow onwards as billionaire Elon Musk faces a court-ordered deadline to close his $44 million deal to buy the social media company. In a historic move, BCCI announced equal pay for all contracted men and women cricketers in Team India. BCCI Secretary Jai Shah said, "We are moving into a new era of gender equality in Indian cricket."